All right, we'll call the City Council regular meeting agenda for Monday, May 19th, 2025 to order at 6:46 PM. Apologies for being a little bit late as we had some special presentations and recognitions in front of the meeting. If you would all please join by standing, I'm going to lead in an invocation followed by our pledges by Councilmember Kate. Heavenly Father, we just want to come and stop just for a few minutes and ask you to come and be a part of our community and be a part of our gathering here tonight at City Council. We thank you for each and every citizen that have made their way out tonight and watching and participating and being a part of their local community. We ask that you be with our council as we deliberate issues that impact our community, both east and west and across our community, that we will come to conclusions that are in the best interest of our community, as well as honoring you. We just ask, as always, when we gather, that you protect the men and women that serve us across this community, protect both police, fire, and our public works crews as they're out on the streets. Thank you for what they do, but protect them. May each one of them go home at the end of their shift. Father, may we be honoring and pleasing to you tonight in our words, in our actions, in everything that we say and do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. There we go. All right. Well, thank you. What a great looking crowd. Great looking group of people. Thank you for coming out. This is your city hall right here in Pearland. This is your city council. I would recognize Councilmember Fernandez as our newest member. Took office last week. That's it. So thank you all for coming out. And again, apologies. I always like to be a stickler for starting on time, but when you've got 4 proclamations and those types of awards in front, sometimes the time just gets through. With that, Madam Secretary, we're going to move on in our agenda. Roll call and certification of quorum. I will certify we have a quorum present, as all members of the council are present and accounted for. With that, we have citizens' comments. We have quite a few that have turned in. Only one is a general comment. All others are specific to items in the agenda. So Mayor Pro Tem will call out your name. Just when you go to the podium, give us your name so we can tie your comments back to you, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and there'll be a clock up on the screens for you to see.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Caleb Diaz, if you want to make your way to the podium. Again, as the mayor said, just state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing not moving towards the podium. So, all right, move on with the agenda.
Yeah, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. All right, and as mentioned, if you signed up to speak, and some of the folks who signed up, you don't have to speak. You can register whether you're for or against, and you did that. We will note those as well. Moving to the consent agenda, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing or hearing none, we'll move forward. Mr. Koza, would you present the consent agenda items A through F, please?
Yes, Mayor. Consideration and possible action to consent agenda items A through F. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Shabadea?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. With that, we'll move to public hearing number 1. Who's presenting tonight?
Good evening, Mayor.
Gotcha. You'll just read into the record the reason for the public hearing and then move right into the staff report.
Tonight's request is a public hearing by a request by Andrew Allemand of Beacon Land Services, LLC, Texas, the applicant on behalf of BEGP1 LLC, Texas, owners, for approval of a zone change from Suburban Residential 12, or SR12, district to a planned development, or PD district, creating a planned development of approximately 7.9731 acres of land to identify as the McCard Road and Adamo Lane planned development to wit. The legal description is found in your agenda, and the general location is 8210 McCard Road here in Pearland, Texas.
All right, go ahead straight into the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The summary of the request is to develop a 73-unit build-to-rent, attached townhouse-style multifamily residential development. The difference between the two is a multifamily development is all on one lot, where a true townhouse development would have each unit be on its own lot of record. The base zoning that is proposed for the site is multifamily residential, and the planned development workshop held on November 18th was for a 101-unit development of a similar nature. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this on April 7th, where it was tabled, so the applicant could address some of the items that were found in staff's report. And on May 5th, they recommended approval after seeing those changes, some of those being integrated and others being addressed during the meeting, with a recommended approval for 5-0. The updates that were made prior to the May 5th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting were about the access, so no change was made. They did meet with staff, including the engineering department, to determine that it was an appropriate location for the driveway to be placed. They will need a variance, an engineering variance, to allow for the distance from the intersection. However, barring no surprises from the traffic analysis worksheet, they would not need to do a full traffic study based on the number of trips proposed to be generated from the number of units in this site. They also updated the hierarchy of the formatting within the document just for ease of reading, and they included language regarding the unit count, adjustments of the design percentage after approval, so when things need to change after you've already approved a PD, so they can be taken care of at a staff level. They identified the sidewalk material. They had a master utility meter with the individual units being addressed from that. They provided for a towing contract so that illegally parked vehicles could be able to be towed without having to have several layers of calls happen. They included clarification on the playground commitment. They updated some line color just so we could read it a little better, and provided material requirements for those residential unit buildings. They also added a water feature to the detention area and identified where the AC unit locations would be on the design plan. After the P&Z meeting, they made additional changes to hopefully address some more of those items before it was brought to you tonight. They updated the PD language to indicate 3 different elevations and floor plans. However, they did not provide, at the time of the staff report, the updated renderings for those, so the language has addressed the condition. However, we still need to see the picture before that. They hope to be able to provide something, should this make it to a second reading, to allow for some designs to be integrated between now and then. They also revised the maintenance berm and crushed granite trail around the detention pond to ensure that it would function and still allow for it to be amenitized. They corrected the clubhouse square footage. In the document, it identified it as larger with a smaller office area within it. This does have a challenge with the parking ratio for the clubhouse, but as it is an internal use within the site for those residents of the site, it would need to be added to the deviation table if that is something that council feels appropriate. They also revised the plantings along the southern property line to be 1 large shade tree per every 25 feet and a continuous hedgerow. This would accompany the wall that is already proposed in that location. They also included notes surrounding the plantings that would be around the AC units to ensure that those are screened from view. Just as a quick reminder from what happened at the November 18th joint workshop, we've got that image on the left and then the current proposal on the right. So the one that has colorful lines to it, that's the current proposal. Changes that took place between that November workshop and today is that they reduced the number of units from 101 to 73. So you can see that along the southern property line, there's now a row of parking where there were units proposed. There's also a row south of the amenity center that is now parking, and it was proposed to be more units. They have increased the open space and changed what deviations they were requesting from that time. So during the workshop, the deviations that they were proposing included the coverage from 40 to 61%, so multifamily allows for 41% lot coverage, and they had it proposed at 61. They are now proposing it at 62% coverage. However, they have increased the open space that is also in this area. They had originally proposed a 0-foot landscape buffer, and now they're meeting the requirement on all sides. They were proposing 30% masonry with 0% glazing requirement for the residential units, and now they're proposing 100% masonry on the residential units, and they will meet the glazing requirements. In advance of tonight's meeting, we received 15 written comments in support and 9 separate written comments against. There were a couple of additional comments, however, they were from duplicate people, so the same person submitted multiple opposition written comments. So we've indicated that with the 9. I believe there were 12 in total, but they were duplicates of the same. At the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we received 30 public comments, 21 in support and 9 against. And then in addition to that, we did receive a petition that had 235 signatures on it that was in opposition of tonight's request. This was posted in the Pearland News Reporter, and property owners were noticed within 200 feet, as well as the signs posted on the property, both on Adamo and on McCard Road. This property is currently zoned R1, or suburban residential, with residential estate to the north and suburban residential, or R1, to the east, south, part of the west, and then there's the Cullen mixed use partially to the west as well. I've identified some of the uses on the map on the right there, so you can see it's undeveloped to the north with single-family residential on the east, south, part of the west with a boat repair shop tucked in that corner there. The future land use map, which is found in our comprehensive plan, is identifying this area as urban living. The urban living character indicates that the primary land uses should be townhomes, duplexes, patio homes, apartments, and live-work units, with secondary uses being things like civic uses and schools with parks and neighborhood serving commercial. The site plan can be seen here on the screen. It includes the amenities, such as the detention pond at the bottom left there with a water feature in the middle. They have made it a wet detention, and a walking path surrounding the maintenance berm. There's a dog park in that bottom corner as well. They have walking paths throughout, so there's sidewalk that connects the rear of the southern cluster of units there, as well as the centralized larger amenity center there with a clubhouse, pickleball courts, a playground for children, and a pool. And then this is a secondary picture of that design plan. So this shows the dwelling units as well as that clubhouse area. And you can see those amenities a little bit clearer on this screen here. They have provided several different versions of renderings for the elevations of the primary, the residential structures. So the first one that was received was submitted on 5/5 just before the Planning and Zoning Commission, so they had an idea of what those elevations would look like. Staff had been insistent on ensuring that there was some variation in the elevations to ensure that we are not getting a product that is very monotonous or has the same elevation on every single structure. So the product that they had proposed for at that time included these elevations here. So there are 3 different sets here. You've got the ones on the very top. The top 2 is the front and back. The bottom left has a few different angles of it, as well as the bottom right. They include a variety of siding materials, a couple different roofs. They've got sheds and gables and hip roofs primarily, as well as a combination of brick, fiber cement siding, and stucco. The formal submittal that they provided for City Council did include these two, which are the two variations of the three that were previously seen. This includes the brick and stucco, where it switches almost a mirror image of the previous one. And then there was an additional submittal on 5/16, which was an informal submittal, of course, because it was after when we published the staff report. However, they did provide these two updated renderings. This provides one rendering that has the brick with the expression line higher up, so it gives a different weight to the base of these structures, as well as the one on the right here, which has the lower expression line with the brick only going as far as the first floor break. This one does include the small picture, and you can't see my mouse here, where it has the transparency that would be meeting the requirements for the corridor overlay. Again, this is a submittal that has been provided to us on 5/16. We did not get to include this in our review, so the comments you would see will be reflective of the previous version, which is this one here. We have an aerial view of the area, so we've got McCard Road labeled there. And you can see the boat repair shop, which is that commercial tucked in the corner, as well as the residential on the other sides. The deviations which have been requested for this are for the percent coverage. Multifamily allows for 40% coverage. They're requesting 62%. And then the density that they're proposing, they are requesting 10 dwelling units per acre, where multifamily does allow for 16 dwelling units per acre. So they're requesting a reduction in density and an increase in the coverage. There's also the vegetative buffer adjacent to the stormwater pond. It requires a 25-foot buffer. However, the detention pond does count towards that buffer. So it says vegetative buffer, which the requirement is that there is a buffer between the property line and the buildings or parking areas. This would, the pond which is proposed would meet the requirement necessary for the buffer. It does not meet the vegetative portion of it because there are no plantings which could be planted in the maintenance berm. Otherwise, maintenance vehicles would not be able to access the pond. So while they do have the depth they require, it's the vegetation that is missing, which is what causes this deviation request on this one. Staff reviewed this against the criteria which are found in our Unified Development Code, and it meets the approval criteria with the exception of 5, which is the character of the existing neighborhood. This is found more detail in your staff reports. However, because of the existing character of the neighborhood being the large lot residential, this would have an impact on the character of that development. However, it meets the future land use map, which is found in our comprehensive plan, and meets all of the other criteria for a PD within this area. So with that, staff recommends approval with conditions of the proposed zone change request. The Planning and Zoning Commission also recommended approval with conditions of the zone change request. In this case, the Planning and Zoning Commission conditions and the staff conditions were the same. So there are 2 sets of 4 conditions, so there are 8 total that staff and Planning and Zoning have recommended. The first 4 are for ease of enforcement, should this be approved, so that staff knows what they're able to enforce and make sure that there's not gray area which could cause challenges as things get built in the future. So the first item on there is that there did not appear to be the number of floor plans that were reflected in the language of the PD document, and the 25% transparency for those buildings along McCard Road had not been met. So any buildings that front McCard Road, there are 3 of them, would need to have 25% transparency on that elevation, as well as the clubhouse. But the clubhouse was meeting the requirement. The second one is that the design plan identifies a 5-foot granite walking trail and a 10-foot maintenance buffer, where the design plan page 1 identifies it as the same, so it needs to be updated. It's a essentially Scribner's error in that case. However, it is something that we need to be updated to ensure that we get both the maintenance berm and that crushed gravel walking trail. It should also be noted that because this changes from what their original engineering calculations were, if engineering has any issue with the design of it, they would need further design variances or possibly fencing requirements for this area to ensure that engineering's requirements are met as well. The third is that the language reflects the placement of the AC units on the mechanicals. However, the language requests the location, screening of the AC units, but not the location of the units. So we just need the language in that section to be updated to ensure that we are not getting AC units in the front yards of every single one of these, making sure that they're out of the way of travel and where they're not going to be an eyesore. And then the final is that their language does not reflect the additional building elevations, which are shown in their design plan. And as for, there's a lot of words on this slide, but as for the staff recommendations, to ensure that this is a higher level quality design, staff has recommended some additional ones. The first is that the anti-monotony standards, which are found in the UDC, they are not technically applicable for multifamily developments, but with this being a planned development, a higher level of design can be proposed. And with that, we would like to see different variations of the elevations. As I mentioned, they did provide a couple, but the ones that were formally submitted with this submittal has only 2 elevations, and they are a direct mirror of each other. So where there was brick, there will be stucco. Where there is stucco, there will be brick, but no other changes were made. They have provided a few other elevations that would meet this requirement. They're just not part of this submittal. The second is that the transparency requirements would need to be met for those on McCard. Again, the one that was informally submitted after this staff report may meet that requirement, but staff has not had a chance to fully vet that, and we would need to make sure that that language and those elevations are reflective. The third is that the landscaping along the southern property line, they have provided some detail as to that, but we would like to see that enhanced so that the property line to the south has a more supple landscaping, because it is the property line that is nearest to an existing residential. And finally, the language relating to the size of the clubhouse has been updated. It identifies that 2,100 square feet of it is office use, and the rest of the 4,000, or remaining 1,900 square feet, is a gathering space. With the way that our UDC language is written, this would leave a deficit of 7 parking spaces not accounted for on the site. If council feels this appropriate, a deviation could be added to the table to allow for those 7 spaces to be a deviation, or additional parking would need to be provided in order to meet that requirement. With this being a clubhouse space that is for the use of the residents, staff is not too worried about under parking based on those 7 spaces, since they will be spaces used by residents who are already parking internally to the site. So those 7 spaces, while they are something that needs to be accounted for somewhere, whether it's in the deviation table or on the site, that's something that we've identified in their latest submittal. And that ends staff's report. Oh, I'm sorry. The last thing is just that with this, because of the number of public comment that we had that touches the property with the percentage of the land, it does require a supermajority vote in order to pass, since it is 52% of the adjoining property.
Got it. All right, is the applicant present? There he is. All right, if you'll just give us your name tied back in there and move forward with your presentation.
My name is Andrew Alleman from Beacon Land Services, 1304 Langham Creek, Suite 410 in Houston, Texas. Thank you all for having us here. Obviously, we went to the joint workshop several months ago, and things have changed drastically since then. We took that feedback, and we totally reworked our concept with the feedback from council, with the feedback from Planning Commission, and many, many, many emails from staff. We have transformed this into a completely different design. I know you've seen the site plan, so you can kind of appreciate how it's changed. Obviously, the density is one of the big ways. But it's not just that, it's the aesthetics. It's the change in the amenities. It's the look and feel, the flow of the property, the emergency access on Adamo. And that is something we can obviously touch on today. I think some of the folks may have some comments about Adamo, but it is currently scheduled to be an emergency exit only. It is there for fire access, but that's it. It's not going to be a secondary point of access. We had several people come out and show us some support during the meeting and obviously some concerns. We really feel that we've done a great job of hearing those concerns, hearing all the issues that were brought up again, not just at your workshop, but several months after that. We've talked to folks individually, several groups, and again, this is a completely reworked program. And when we look at the program, obviously staff mentioned that this meets the future land use and comprehensive goals, but you can't just jump into that right away, right? You can't just say, okay, well, this is good for multifamily and throw multifamily in there. You have to do something different. What this is it's what I would call like a transition use. It's not your typical multifamily project. It's ground entry, more of a townhome feel. And I think you guys can see that from the aesthetics, from the elevations. So we think that's a good step in the right direction. Again, you don't want to put down something that's highly dense just because a plan calls for it. That's years down the road. So things like this need to come in between the authorization of the plan and the total fulfillment. You need to have the small steps, and this is definitely one of those small steps. So we talked about the market rate, the rent. Again, this is not an affordable complex, but we definitely want to keep the rents low. One of the main motivations for this complex is to make it affordable for the people as a housing choice for teachers and firemen. I know the developers here, he'll talk about that a little bit, but we are very conscious about making this an alternative housing choice. It doesn't need to blow everybody out of the water with the rent, but it's also not going to be a subsidized project either. So it fits that need. And that's one of the other things we heard from the community over and over again is this going to be a subsidized project? No, it's definitely not going to be a subsidized project. Again, this just kind of hits on the future land use plan. This is an exhibit from the comprehensive plan on the right, future land use plan on the left. And again, we talked about how, just because it's authorized, you can't just jump right in. You have to kind of come with a transition type flow. This is definitely one of those transition type flow projects. We've done high rises downtown that are 40 stories with retail on the bottom, and they just didn't get there overnight. This is definitely one of those like soft approaches, and we've even come softer from our original request. We think we've gotten to a very good place. Again, like one of the biggest concerns we heard first was density. We've reduced the density. We talked about stormwater and roadway issues on Adamo, which are legitimate and they really do exist. This project will go a long way towards improving those. So we are going to improve the section of Adamo Lane adjacent to our site, which is going to make the land south of us more accessible. It's going to improve the stormwater, for that area. So in terms of the engineering or the mechanical piece of this, it's going to improve those around us. Then I think the land use pieces will address some of the proximity issues. Like the gentleman to the south, we obviously don't have any uses or any units against his property. There's a lot of sufficient buffering, enhanced vegetative buffering, and with that in place, I think that mitigates any concerns, any reasonable concerns about having this kind of complex next to the residential piece. And plus, it's not a very high, property either. You're talking 2 stories, as opposed to like the typical townhomes you see in other communities around us, where they're like 3 and 4 stories tall. So this is definitely your type of 2-story townhome type development. And then we added some amenities. We had always thought about putting in a dog park. We didn't have it in our first iteration, but that's one of the things that we've done. We've also gone and amenitized the detention feature. That's obviously at a great expense to us, but we have a walking trail around it. We feel it's going to be a keystone project for us, but that's something that's changed from the first submittal, so it's going to drastically improve the quality of life of the residents of the whole facility, especially those in the southwestern portion. And just real quick, I know staff went over the deviations. We're not asking for much. I understand about the parking. The clubhouse, we calculated the parking based on the office component. If we do need to add, obviously, some more variance to ask for the relief of the 6 or 7 spaces, we could certainly include that. But even with that, you can see from the table, we're not asking for hardly any relief at all. We're not deviating hardly at all. The purpose of the PD is to make this a transition development. That's it. We could go in and try for straight zoning, but that wouldn't meet the intent of mitigating the concerns of the community and getting us the multifamily project that we want. So this is a good compromise. Again, it's more about making it a quality development than trying to get a variance from the city's development regulations. All right. I'll turn it over, if it's okay, to the developer, or do we need to go into the public comment?
Oh, that's
Not sure.
fine. That's fine. That's all part of the applicant's presentation.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Ali Hassan, and we are requesting your approval here, ladies and gentlemen. We've come a long way, as Andrew mentioned. I won't go through a lot of those details, but I'll hit on two important points that are really necessary for the council to consider and for the public to hear. We went under contract in this project with the sellers, who are a longtime Pearland family. I think they're here somewhere in the room. For decades. And this family has been around. They've contributed to Adamo Lane, to that community, to that land. And one of the first things we did is, before we even came to you for the workshop, I personally walked over and knocked on the door of my southern neighbor. That's the first thing we did. And I know he's still in opposition to the project. We're developing a good friendship now, regardless of that. But at the same time, that was the first thing we did. And so to hit on that point is that we've made sure that we address every single concern they have. This won't be a perfect project in the sense that we can mitigate every concern they have. You're going to hear from them, of course. And you're going to hear from plenty of residents in the greater community that are outside the immediate neighborhood that see the need for this project. And that brings me to my second point, which is the most important one. We had firemen and teachers in the room, or I saw emergency services in the room. An average salary for a fireman here and a teacher is about $58,000. In order for that to be not rent burdened, you need to pay about a third of your salary in rent, which is about $1,450. I've done the math to save you guys time. And so if somebody can pay about $1,450 maximum to afford, to be considered, in an affordable situation, average rent in the city of Pearland for an apartment or for any rental here is about $2,300. $2,300. So there's about an $850 gap between what can be considered affordable and what people are paying. And so the only way to cure that is by bringing more supply. Now, we're not basically blasting through supply like our neighbor had done on the other side, which is about 200 plus units, 3-story, high density. We have been very cognizant of the neighbor's feelings, and that's why we went down on both the density and did not go to a 3-story product. We were very cognizant of that to make sure that the lay of the land doesn't change drastically. We changed our design from what we heard in the workshop from you guys, made sure that it's not a very contemporary product that we had envisioned first. We moved to a more traditional product so that we fit in better into the neighborhood. And then lastly, the most important part of all this is why us, why me, the developer, doing this project. We, as a developer, have done 800 plus, close to 1,000 units over 9 communities. We run professionally managed built-to-rent communities that we hold ourselves. We develop them, we hold them. These are our babies. These are our products, and these are our projects. You're going to hear from people who even invested in these communities with us, who are Pearland residents. So this is local Pearland money doing good things for Pearland. And that is what I wanted to make sure that the council hears from us and takes into consideration for our approval. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being here tonight and your presentation. With that, we are going to move forward in our public hearing. This is the portion where we're going to hear from the public. What we're going to do, the folks that have signed up to speak here, we're going to start there first and go through that. Need to get that in ASAP. If you'll walk all the way back around over here, we'll get it. So obviously, in the interest of just time and effort tonight, a couple things. We're going to call you up, probably 3 names at a time, so that way you're queued up and we're not spending a lot of time people walking to the podium. You'll get your time and you'll be able to speak. In addition to that, you'll have a clock, and we really want to adhere to the 3 minutes because we do have a full agenda behind this, and we'd like to get through our agenda as well. And then the last thing is, if you may be signed up to speak and you want to address, but if somebody has made your comments, you can also give your name, and you can say ditto to what they just said. Tonight, it's about registering those for and against. And we know we've received emails. Every email that's come to us, we have received. We have received the petition of X number of people in opposition to this as well. So it's not necessary that you use full 3 minutes, but we're here tonight to hear from you in this public hearing process, okay? With that, the Mayor Pro Tem is going to start. We'll call out the first 3 names. When we get there, we'll call out the next 3 names after that. Sounds like a deal? All right, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Lysol, we'll have you up first, followed by Gwen Lysol, and then Clayton Smith. And you would state your name at the podium just to tie your comments for the record. And you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. Lysol. Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Lysol.
That's okay. It gets mispronounced all the time. It's Czechoslovakian, by the way. Okay. My name is John Lysol. I live at 3103 Nottingham Street, Pearland, Texas. And I've lived here in Pearland since 1959. I'm 71 years old, so do the math. That's how long I've been here. I've seen a lot of change in this town. My parents bought the land in 1954. They built a home there in 1959. And my mother lived there until she was 3 months short of 97 years old. So this is our family's land. I have 2 sisters, and we've inherited the land, and we decided that we couldn't do anything with it. We're not developers, and so we put it on the market. We didn't, and Mr. Husan came and gave us a good offer. We think the townhouses are right for the area because we have a lot of young professionals coming into the area that are working on the west side of town, and they can't afford to buy a house in Pearland because they're so doggone expensive when they're first starting out in life. So this will work really good for them. And also we have older people like me that say we don't want to have a house anymore. We want to move into a more simpler life and not have to worry about taking care of a house. And so we it's for them to move into. It's a very nice project. I was a contractor for 43 years. I look at plans. I see things that this is a very good layout. And so I just ask so that our family can sell this project, that you approve this zoning change tonight so that we can go on with our lives. We've spent the last several months, 6 months. I don't sleep good at night, and I know that's my problem, but I just would like to see this move on, build this really nice project here, and go forward. I have this comment. It's a comment of misunderstanding about the petition. I saw the petition, and the petition said to object for the building of townhomes / apartments. These are not apartments. These are 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath with an enclosed garage, 1,600 square foot living space. So I think people were misled on that petition. So with that, I'll thank you for your time and turn it over to the next person.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gwen, state your name for the record, please, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Gwen Lysol. I live at 3103 Nottingham in Pearland. I'm a 6th-generation Texan, and I've lived in Pearland for 60 years. I love Pearland, and I believe in the development of Pearland. The townhomes on McCard will beautify that corner. Right now, it's just kind of run down looking, and they're wanting to make it beautiful. It's going to improve the drainage and with their retention pond and improve the road. I think this is good for Pearland. This is what we need to build nice places for the young people to start out to live. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. If we can get Mr. Clayton Smith, followed by Ryan Johnson, Sean McBride, and Benito Valadez. Sir, if you would state your name, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Clayton Smith. I live at 1801 Adamo Lane. And I'd like us to think about this differently. I'd like us to think about this as what precedent are we setting here? And one of the representatives for the developer said that this was not a significant deviation, that all the deviations they were asking for were not very much. Well, the deviation that they're asking for impervious cover is equivalent to them adding 1 3/4 acres of parking lot. So it is not insignificant. In terms of thinking about the precedent that we're setting, reviewing the application, there are several things in there that are internally inconsistent. First of all, in the emergency section, it says, well, when the retention pond overflows, the water will flow to Adamo Lane and will flow out into McCard Lane. That's right, because the retention pond is literally at the highest point on the site. Nothing in the application addresses how the water that is flowing from northwest to southeast will get to the retention pond. There are no containment berms shown downflow. There are no catchment areas shown downflow. No pump sumps, no pipes, no anything that I could find in there that says how is that water going to get into the retention pond. So the question is, do we want to accept something that's internally inconsistent? Do we want to set that precedent that people can put things before us that are internally inconsistent, and we're going to kind of wave our hand at them and say, that's okay? And I think that we probably should look at some of the things that have happened in Houston where we don't have the protection of zoning, didn't have protection of zoning. I used to live in Houston. And when you get right down to it, there's no difference between having no zoning and having zoning that isn't adhered to. The impervious cover standard was thoughtful. I would assume it was thoughtfully thought out, had supporting evidence to go along with it. And now we're saying, well, okay, we're going to allow a significant deviation from that. And I think we really need to think about what are we telling other developers about coming to Pearland? Do we mean it when we say these are our zoning laws, or do we not? Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson? You head out. All right, Mr. McBride?
My name is Sean McBride. I'm born and raised in Pearland for 50 years, and I agree with what Mr. Lasaw previously said, and so I'm here for the rezoning of the development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Valadez, followed by, I'm sorry, Andrigan Algamon?
He was the original.
Okay.
It's Benito Valadez, 1738 Adamo. I am the resident directly south of this development. I'm in opposition, and I'm gonna repeat of what my neighbor said, is concerning the precedents. I mean, they're asking from a 40% coverage up to a 62% coverage, which is in my calculations, 52% increase. Now those, and I kind of went back and did some research, like why 40%? And there's been a number of studies done, and I wrote some notes down about everything from urban heat island effect when you're adding more than 40% coverage, environmental strains, infrastructure overloads, aesthetic and social impacts, which is what kind of caught my attention. It said dense development with less open space can take neighborhoods from feel cramped, reducing privacy, altering community character, and this can obviously lower property values. And one too is that the community character is what means a lot to me. Obviously, I'm on 5 acres. I not necessarily opposed to a development, because I know this is zoned for urban living stuff. Change is going to come, and I'm not opposed to change. I just want to make sure that we adhere to the current building codes that we have, and not do a development by development basis, and going in there and deciding what coverage works for here, what coverage works for future presidents and for future tracts of land that are on McCard Road. So once again, I'm opposed to it, and I hope you see it my way as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. We will get now William Hunter, Shirley Hunter, and Jennifer Meyer. You would state your name for the record, sir, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm William Hunter. I live at 1905 Washington Irving Drive in Pearland. I have been a resident of Pearland since 1949. I've watched Pearland grow from a bedroom community to a vibrant community. This started when this development, this growth started. We had a former mayor that had a slogan, Pearland, a great place to live. This development is shown will add to that growth, and that it provides jobs. It supports existing businesses, Shop in Pearland, brings in new businesses into the area. This growth has even brought a mini medical center to Pearland. And the growth also will benefit the community and the city of Pearland. So I urge you to pass this, and let's make and keep Pearland a great place to live. Thank you.
My name is Shirley Hunter. My husband, John, my brother. I was born in Lasalle, and I grew up in Pearland. His father was born in Pearland. Our children were raised in Pearland, our grandchildren. So Pearland means a lot to us. We went through the school districts. They've grown tremendously. And I would love to see more people come to the Pearland area. The family, the Hunter family, came here in 1894, and they lived here growing their families and loving Pearland. His aunt lived to be 101 years old in this community. And I hope someone on that land might live 101 years in this community. Thank you.
If we could go ahead and get Renai Karenfeld and Muhammad Daoudi. Go ahead, Ms. Meyer, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Meyer. I live at 12418 Thaman and Dickinson. I'm here to support the Lasalle family and their ability to sell the property, which has been in their family for well over a century, half a century, sorry. It seems the question as to whether or not to approve this project has really already been answered in Pearland's own comprehensive plan. This plan is intended to be a map for the future of Pearland, and it's intended to provide direction in making important decisions like this regarding future land use. I know we're receiving input tonight, but we need to also consider the input given by residents during the 7 community input sessions offered for the comprehensive plan. And the input plan showed that Pearland needs more diverse housing and needs to maintain a healthy tax base. I support approval of this project for many reasons. Number one, it meets the comprehensive plan's call to encourage the development of middle market housing and to provide additional density. The Lasalle's land is labeled urban living, which means it's supposed to have a range of housing choices, and the plan specifically states it should include higher density options in this area. Number two, property tax rates are the highest revenue sources for the city, with sales tax close behind. This project meets the comprehensive plan strategy to maximize the taxable value of the land through compact living. The future land use plan is intended to help the city continue to provide a high quality of life for its residents by securing a healthy future tax base. And number three, this project has already received a unanimous thumbs up from the P&Z. Part of the comprehensive plan calls for a review of zone change criteria to determine if projects are incorporating the values of the comprehensive plan. And I believe if this project is approved, a review will show the city is working towards its goals for the future and that future land use is in accordance with Pearland's vision and community values. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Renai, is that right?
Rania.
Rania.
Like Tanya
Totally
with an
off.
R.
All right. What's your name for the record? You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Rania Kronfeld. My address is 4538 Mayfair Street, Bel Air, Texas, 77401. And before everyone gets upset, I'm not currently a resident of Pearland, but my family actually has a property down the road on McCard Road, about 4 acres, and I grew up there, and I have childhood memories from that land. We grew fruit trees that are still there till today, fig trees and pear trees, of course, and so many banana trees and so many things. So oftentimes I'm in this area to visit my family's home. And throughout the years, so my parents have owned this property for decades, actually, and we still own the home and everything now. So whenever I do go there, I have seen the development over the years of those decades. About 20 years ago, I've personally seen the development that has come to that part of Pearland, and it's made me so happy. And I've seen the immediate economic growth of that community and that area, with businesses, with like children's parks, with just more people coming to the community, more people just thriving there. And when I saw the sign for this project as I was driving, I wanted to come here and show my support for it, because I've firsthand seen what these type of projects can do for a community, and to really revive it and continue that economic growth that keeps Pearland strong and hopefully continuously thriving community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Daoudi, followed by Stephen Nipple, Michael Jenkins, Robert Garner.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Dowdy. I live at 12102 Amber Creek Drive here in Pearland. I'm a longtime resident and a very happy resident of Pearland. I'm here to ask the council to vote in support of this project. So the way I know about this is I know the sponsors very well. I've actually invested with this particular group multiple times before. I'm investing again. The reason I invest in this particular group, besides this particular project, is that they have a very strong sense of ethical investments and ethical projects. And because of that, I align myself with this type of organization. I was very happy to find out that we had a project here in Pearland that I can just drive by. I live actually only 4 miles away. And it's not just me. I have several friends in the neighborhood that I live in Shadow Creek Ranch. We are investing in this project. We're investing with this group. And we're really excited to see something that we can see before our eyes in a community near a neighborhood that we personally live in. Now, as far as the specific project, kind of going on a personal note, I got married 12 years ago. Like a lot of people, I couldn't afford a house. And so I started out in a townhouse. And it was a really nice way to be in a place that allowed me and my family to grow. Eventually, I was able to afford a home. I moved into Shadow Creek Ranch. We have space to raise our family. We're very happy there. We're developing a community of a lot of friends. We keep bringing more people into this place that's growing. And one of the things I love about Shadow Creek Ranch is that we do have multifamily housing in the area. And so we actually have friends who have moved in, and they'll stay for a year or two. And instead of leaving the area, they're actually able to upgrade and buy a house. And as somebody mentioned earlier, later on in life, these same people, instead of leaving the neighborhood, are going to get to live in a very close proximity without having to just, abandon their neighborhood. And so that's something that I'd like people to consider. Not everybody, like people have said today, can afford to move into a house directly. And it's really sad that, I lived in an area before moving to Shadow Creek where the housing was just so incredibly expensive that I could never live there. I had to actually leave. But we've developed this home here. We've developed a community here. And I've been bringing a lot of people to move into this wonderful area. And so I support this project, and I hope you will too. And the last thing I want to know is hopefully I can convince somebody to move into the development so I have a place to go play pickleball. And I'm really excited to see that. You don't see a lot of places with that. In my neighborhood, they only want tennis courts. We've been trying to convince them to go pickleball, so I really hope this passes. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Steve Kneppel, 3923 Hanbury, Pearland, Texas. I'm here this evening to speak to and in support of the requested zoning change for several reasons. Of course, most of us here are longtime Pearland residents. I've had the good fortune of raising a lovely daughter here. My hope would be, as a young medical professional, she could hope to live here and work here too, you know, with the medical coming in and being such a big part and revenue driver and a requirement to expand, specifically in the areas that we've been talking about for the past several weeks in this particular O'Donnell. One of the other reasons I'd like to see this specific project move forward is, while all change has its challenges, most has been met. Most, if not all, have been met, at least to a reasonable degree, by the preliminary activities. But anything remaining can certainly be addressed through standard permitting protocols. And then I also heard persons concerned about property values and or even crime. When you look at this development, I know there have been various things thrown around, but rents are going to be between $1,800 and $2,000 a month to lease these units. Those are actually the type of people you're going to want to attract. They're not going to be worried about what they can get from their neighbors or surrounding them. They're looking to protect their families. So it has a lot of positive attributes. There's always some compromise when you're growing as fast and as large as this community is. So I just simply state that and request that you vote to approve this for the good of Pearland moving forward and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If we can get Mr. Jenkins, followed by Mr. Garner, and I see Mr. Johnson made his way back in the room. Would you still like to speak? You go up after Mr. Garner. Thank you.
My name is Michael Jenkins. I'm at 1841 Adamo. I'm directly south of the proposed project, and I'm in opposition of these townhomes being developed. And I'd just like to give very briefly 4 reasons. First of all, we already have 235 signatures of residents that live in Pearland that is opposing this project. 235, I think, was the last count. We have already submitted them. The second thing is we have 7 residents on Adamo. Adamo is a dead-end street. We have 7 residents. Each of the residents owns 2+ acres of property. So it's already dense and not dense, but the drainage is very poor. It floods even with the 7 residents. So if we have a proposed townhome development there, we can just wonder how bad the drainage will be. That's number 2. Number 3, just directly to the south of me is 10 acres of dense wooded area. And if there is a fire, we read a lot about the brush fires in California and so forth, but if there is a fire on that 10 acres, we, of course, will all have to move to the north to try to exit Adamo. But with these townhomes being developed, it would be horrendous trying to exit to escape the fire there. So I'm very concerned about that. And the 4th thing is, right across the street from McCord Road is a townhome development, and it's called the Townhomes at Lake Park. I went to their website this particular weekend, Saturday, a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, and they are begging people to come and to live in our townhomes. They're offering up to 4 weeks of free rent. And so I'm saying it's a good project, but just not for our area. You can actually walk 5 minutes from where these proposed townhomes are. So they are begging people. They have 1 and 2-bedroom units affordable there. So I'm just saying that the project is right now, it's not needed on our area. Thank you very much.
Would state your name for the record, sir, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Robert Garner. I live at 8126 McCard. I'm directly to the east of this project. I'm going to give some excerpts from the joint workshops and the meetings that we've had from different members of the City Council as well as the Planning and Zoning. Planning and zoning is struggling due to no real laid out plan other than the overlay of the newly opened corridor of McCard on how we transition mixed use, light industrial, residential from one property to the next. Recently, y'all went over a project that was proposed to go in at McCard and Old Alvin. Now that's more of a light commercial area there, and it unanimously got denied because they didn't want the townhomes next to the neighborhood as well as where they're doing the light industrial. I don't know what the plan is with McCard. We have an overlay, but we have all of these parcels of property that are now available that nobody wants to build a house on a 4-lane road. If the property is not economically developable for that type of property, then it needs to be something else. We should not circumvent our requirements just to make it work. That's from a council member, one of the meetings. I agree with the Commissioner Hendricks. It's not the right product for the space. Odd-shaped parcel, but priced for this type use, not priced for single family or large lot single family. We need a think tank planning session with planning and zoning and city council on any time a road gets rebuilt and some fodder to go over the process on how it to be developed. Councilmember Byron, that's a pretty significant change if you've lived in that area for decades to change zoning to small residential and urban development. Again, we've obtained 230 signatures from people of Pearland that oppose this project. I don't want to hinder the Lasalls. They were my neighbors and my parents for 40 plus years. They're great people. This just isn't the right parcel of land for townhomes. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, if you would like to make your comment, state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes, sir, followed by Scott Weemhoff and Lorenzo Cano.
Thank you. I'm Ryan Johnson, 3520 Dixie Farm Road, Pearland, Texas. We moved here, my wife and I, from Pasadena, moved here in 2007, and we picked this area because of the schools and the community. My daughter here with me today is turning 15, and one of my biggest concerns is her adulthood and staying generational in Pearland. One of the biggest challenges I think she's going to face is that first home with the price of housing. So I support this because it's something I can assist her with, I think, and her to start building her life and her family. She wants to stay here in Pearland, to be generational like all the other stories you've heard already. I think that townhome community and that option is very needed in Pearland, and that's why I support it. Thank you.
Scott Wimhoff, 1837 Adamo. I've been a resident of Adamo now for just over 20 years, so I've seen a lot change over there. I'm in opposition of this. I just feel, for one, Adamo Lane already suffers flooding and heavy rains due to poor drainage out to McCard Road. We all know it just flows north to McCard Road. Silver Lake Church was built, which I was there for that. We also had multiple issues with drainage. All the 40 acres that the church is on drains to Adamo and then drains out to McCard Road, was Brookside Road. There was a piece of property that just sold next to me. I think it's just 2.3 acres. They put a large house on it. They built it up, and I can see a substantial amount of difference in just that footprint of once it rains, the water is just standing. With the 40% that the city and the UDC has recommended that the developer follows, and he's going to the 62%, that's 120,000 square feet versus this 3,500 square foot home. What is that going to do in the footprint with, we don't have anything draining off? I just feel that these things are in place. The city of Pearland, I'm assuming at some point we pay for these studies through tax dollars, and we should make sure that we're following these codes that are put in place for the people that have been in Pearland for years. So I just urge the city council to deny approval of this development. Our neighborhood deserves thoughtful, balanced growth and prioritizes the voice and interests of the current residents of Adamo and their surrounding areas. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lorenzo Cano. I live on 7626 Longleaf, and I've lived in that area since 1991. Now, my main issue with this development is the flooding. All right. Whenever McCard Road was built, I have noticed that it floods a lot on Longleaf Street and Stone Road, which are walking distance from Adamo Street. All right. So one thing that's not really taken into effect when a lot of developers make all these plans is what's going on in the area. All right. I'm very analytical. Stone Road has huge ditches. All right. Those ditches used to flow perfectly into Clear Creek. After McCard Road was built, it doesn't do that anymore. It is not, okay? So my main concern isn't really about building this development. My main concern is about the drainage, okay? So I really urge, whether this goes through or not, to really look into that, all right? Because on that whole street that I live on, people have 1 acre lots, and all of those houses are prone to flood if there's gonna be a bad storm. All right, so that's all I gotta say.
Okay, that completes everybody that had signed up to speak. I'm going to make one call for anyone in the room who did not sign up to speak to make a comment. You can stand up, go to the podium, give us your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak. See one, and after that, we'll call the public hearing phase of it over and move on to questions and comments. Thank you. Just give us your name for the record. And when you're done, if you'll just get one of the sheets so we can tally.
Yeah, I filled one out. I'm not sure, but
at the bottom of it, it said, "Yeah, I do not wish to speak, but I'm in either opposition or for," so we didn't call those folks. Because they said they're not wishing to speak. So go ahead.
My name's Alex Serrano. I live at 1710 Max Road, Pearland, Texas. I just want to say I'm opposed to this zone change and future development. The location of this apartment complex, I believe, doesn't align with the current housing in the area. Pearland residents at this and surrounding locations are at risk of lowered property value and increased safety risks if this development were to be approved. Another issue would be that the precise location of where this future layout would be constructed would cause continued issues with congestion and traffic. Pearland has developed a reputation as having a high level of traffic, and McCard Road, as I understood it in its development, was intended as a thoroughfare with the purpose of relieving some of that traffic in the city. This development will only cause further congestion, and that the median in McCard Road doesn't permit for easy access in and out of this location. This site doesn't provide safe exit to McCard Road and may create heavy traffic and possible accidents at busy times, both mornings and afternoons. I attended the planning and zoning meetings where presentations were made and multiple changes were required, and still do not appear to be fully implemented. The builder states that this will meet the need for affordable housing, but when asked about what the rent may be, the answer was not clear, and changes required and rising costs of materials do not seem as if they will qualify as affordable housing. Please note that after multiple presentations, the builder has not been fully accountable for the changes required by planning and zoning and by the city guidelines, and doesn't appear that they are committed to making these changes. Thank you for your service to this community.
Thank you for that. All right, that will conclude our for and against portion of the public hearing. We're going to turn it over to City Council for questions, comments, and concerns. Before we do, I would like to correct one thing that was stated. Mr. Garner, at McCard Road and Old Alvin, that project was never voted on by City Council. the developers withdrew their application. They're retooling that whole thing, but it's never been finalized here. So just wanted to make sure we correct that. So but thank you for bringing that one up, because again, I think that's where developers are listening and hopefully bringing back a better product. So we'll see that. Uh-huh. Oh, I got you. Ali Hassan. Always like to look through our paperwork, make sure we got it right. So I appreciate that. So with that, we're going to turn it over to questions and comments from council. Mr. Koza first.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Chavaria next.
Listening to the comments from everyone, one thing that has kind of registered with me is the word conflict. It seems like there's a lot of conflict here between each neighbor. We've had in the planning and zoning, I went back and watched the planning and zoning meetings. There were two family members, one was for and one was against. It's been kind of an interesting dynamic to sit there and watch the different sides. Nothing out of the ordinary, but just opposite views, opposite sides of the comments. So with that being said, I'd kind of like to ask some questions of staff and some of the folks that have spoken to kind of get some understanding and trying to help the process, whichever way, for or against, we end up voting for it.
Okay.
So with that being said, I'd like to call up Mr. Benito Valdez, if you wouldn't mind, go back to the podium, please.
Yes, sir.
At each one of the hearings, I know you're firmly against. I know you're on the south side. Between you, Mr. Chima, and Mr. Garner, with y'all three voting, it will always require on the Lasalls a supermajority vote up here. So whether it impacts this vote tonight to kind of help the process, if this is shot down tonight, moving forward, what would you be? You said that you were in favor of development, but in regards for the Lasall family, what would you support that if they were to come back to be able to make the process easier, I guess, a second time?
Yeah, I would support a townhome, not a ownership of a townhome. This pride of ownership is huge, guys. And obviously, I developed that property south of it. I built my dream house. I planted. I mean, God has blessed me with the ability to build my home there. And so what I want, I take pride in my home. I think if anybody sees my home, I planted trees when they were at 50% off at the garden, during December. You go buy a whole bunch, and they were 1-inch caliber. Now they're 6-inch caliber. So I take lots of pride, and everybody in Adamo takes a lot of pride. And so pride of ownership is the biggest thing. So if this was individual lots with townhomes on it, I mean, what more do you want? You're gonna have a beautiful development with nice townhomes and more kids. My kids do complain a little bit that they don't have no neighbors, although we do have Winhoff's daughters. And it's like we wanted more neighbors. We don't have that neighborhood, but now with the townhome ownership, something like that with private ownership would be something I would definitely be in favor of. And I think not only me, I think most.
Well, that's what I'm looking for is because in the area, yes, I get from what I've heard through both the P&Z meetings and tonight, it's kind of regional. Everybody kind of in the area is against, but y'all three. Immediately next to the Lasall family have a different advantage, if you want to say that, over the rest of the against.
Correct.
Because y'all three
more directly.
Yes, sir. And I mean, you require a supermajority, and so that we don't go through. Mayor Cole has said numerous times over the 3 years that I've been elected here that when this process starts, he wants a quick no, so that people don't waste their time, don't waste their money. To get here.
Yes, sir.
I have heard of a development here in town that took 2 years and $100,000, and they finally got there before they even scratched the dirt.
Yes.
So, you know, the time and money for the folks, and that's why I really appreciate your input, because if this is to be shot down, from the testimony I heard tonight from Mr. Lasaw, is they put it up for sale. They didn't say, I want to put it up for sale, build to rent, single home, you know, it was land for sale. And so with that being said, I'd like to hear from each one of you as to, you know, what you would support, because right now it's zone SR 12. I'll ask some questions here in a little bit of staff, what can be done in SR 12. We have a future land use as part of our comprehensive plan that says urban development. So when we get into that, that's a whole nother ball game from SR 12. So that in and of itself is a conflict within our own plans that we have here in the city between what it's zoned now and what the future.
Yeah, and we recognize that.
Yes.
We recognize, and I'm in favor of a change on the SR 12.
Okay.
You know, going to maybe a little bit smaller lots. But if there were small townhome lots that people could purchase, and they could be, you know, just 2-3-story homes they could purchase on their individual lot, then that's something I would be in support of.
Okay, and that's what I'm just trying to see what, if it does get shot down tonight, what path they would have to be able to, if you want to say, bring peace, harmony, whatever, to the surrounding area, so that it would work.
Yes, sir.
So okay, so as far as residential, that's what you'd look at. Is there anything else? If we were to come back and say, okay, zoning, if they were to come back and say, we'd like to go with GB, GC for general building, general commercial, anything like that, do you have any thoughts on anything along that line?
No, I trust the city of Pearland and the zoning commission and city council to make a good decision on what can go there. Obviously, a heavy industrial site I would be opposed to, and I think the city would.
And that wouldn't be able to be allowed in a general business.
In a general business area, yeah. But
Yes,
no,
sir.
yeah. If there are some retail, that the retail will come up there, you know, we'd be okay with that. My biggest concern is pride of ownership. That is number one.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's what like I said, I'm just trying to get, because right now, when I look at SR 12, it's one of the most restrictive things you can build on.
Yeah.
As far as in the city of Pearland. So at any rate.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Garner, if you could kind of, here again, I'm just here to try and get how we could bring agreement between neighbors.
All right, I'm going to reiterate the pride of ownership. One of the things that we have all talked about is we don't want some strip center, we don't want a liquor store, but we would love to see houses come in there, something that's individually owned. We just want something that keeps the neighborhood feel that we have.
Okay, so when you say no strip shopping center, you mean GB, GC, anything along those lines you would be against?
Well, like when an HEB comes in, when the first thing happens, you have an anchor, and everything else comes in. And I'm not against us having some development there. We have to have some development. But again, we come back where we just lost a bunch of frontage bringing in McCard Road. We went from a road that basically wasn't a dead end, but it turned on Stone Road each way, okay? So when my wife leaves out in the morning, we have a racetrack now. We have a 4-lane road that people are hauling tail going down all the time. And so we've already changed the dynamic of our neighborhood. Now we're wanting to put build to rent. All I can picture is the new build to rent homes that they've built on 288 at Reed Road between Reed and Airport. They're stacked 5 feet apart from each other. Is that what we want? We don't want that. We just want something to come in where we have pride of ownership. We know that change is inevitable. We've seen it. We just want something that people own, that people are going to be proud of. If we need some sort of a affordable, then let's make some smaller houses that aren't 2 stories, that aren't 2,500 square feet to 4,000 square feet. It's hard to find anything like that. We're building townhomes in Old Pearland, right off of Austin Street, okay? Well, you look at those, they're starting out at $400,000, okay? We're running into the same problem. As their presentation comes, I don't know about y'all, but when I was starting out, I couldn't afford $2,000 a month. That's what we're selling that this is. Entry level? Okay. That's not really entry level, is it? And they're saying that these are going to be 3-bedroom with a garage? The price is going to go up from $2,000. You look at it, what it costs to develop this. Every one of you people on the board knows something about real estate development. I know all of y'all a little bit. It's going to cost a minimum of $200,000 a door to do these deals. Here's the problem. This piece of property, we're caught between. It's 8 acres. Okay, what are you going to do? A developer doesn't want to come in there and put single-family homes. Okay, if we look at changing it and saying, okay, we're going to split it up and we're going to put 4 houses per acre, it doesn't make it cost-effective for the Lasaws. Now, I understand the realtor's here and the realtor wants to sell it. The developer wants to develop it. And I have a double-edged sword because now what do I do with my house? Do I want to live next door to apartments? We can say that they're townhomes, but if you don't own it, it's really just an apartment or an extended stay hotel.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Chima, since you're, if you'd go up there so I can kind of get your thoughts.
Well, Rob and Benito, they kind of touched on what I also agree with. My biggest concern is noise, and I did submit an email about noise. Currently, I have harmony with the neighbors. There's quite a bit of distance between all of us. We all get along great, help each other, everything's great. But if you add 73 right there on top of me, it's going to be bad. There will be complaints, especially people with infants, elderly people, even people that work night shift. They're going to sleep during the day. Marine engines are loud. I can't control the noise. So I am very concerned about that.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I mean, as far as from what I hear between Mr. Garner and Mr. Valdez is that they're okay with ownership, but are you saying that you don't want any residential whatsoever?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if it is ownership, and of course, if the lots are a little bit bigger, then they wouldn't be exactly on top of me. So I think that the noise variance wouldn't be nearly as bad.
Okay, no, and that's what I just wanted some clarity because I didn't understand that as far as, you know, whether you were or for or against on residential.
I think I could work with far fewer residents than, let's see, 73 times, you know, there's 73, there's 4 people, that's 3 bedrooms, mother, father, you know, running out of fingers and toes.
Yeah, no, I get it.
There's no way I can make all those people happy.
You're 300 to 400 people that you could have, give or take.
Yes, they are going to complain.
So, yeah, and I understand that. And then one other question, I know you've had your building for sale for a while.
Yes, sir.
I don't know when you put it up for sale. What type of activity have you had as far as inquiries, anything meaningful? Just because I'm kind of curious to know on, you're right next door to them. I don't know, and I'll get to the Lasaws here in a few seconds, but I'm just kind of curious to know what type of activity you've had. That's fine. Go ahead.
Danielle Chima. So we have had quite a few offers from different people. We've had offers from people that wanted to put in like a scrap yards and things, and we have turned them down. There's been quite a few that we have turned down because of the fact that we know that this is not what the city wants in that area. We know that you all want to go more urban residential. So we're trying to keep that in mind as far as who or what type of business to put in that area. We're trying to do a like-minded business or something close to that is very quiet, that's not noisy, that's not something that would be not cohesive with what the city is wanting in the area. We have turned down about 5 different offers.
And what were those? Were they all, I don't know if you want to say industrial, but all commercial?
They were all, everything that we've gotten is of course commercial, but most of them were more industrial type than they were what we are. We're not industrial. I mean, we have, clients that come in that are, bringing their boat to us, so we're not industrial, and we're trying to look at that type of product to be brought in again, whether it be for something that people would come to, or something that is just that they're building something there to sell to the public, but not have public come in there. In other words, they would sell it to another business. So we're looking at that. We're trying to keep within the guidelines where the people that are surrounding us will be happy with what we've chosen. We don't want to cause any problems in the area either. We've gotten along with all the residents. In fact, we used to help Miss Lasaw all the time with mowing and fixing her lawnmower. She'd come riding up the driveway, 90-something years old, in her lawnmower, and we would help her fix it and stuff like that. So the family is a great family, and we're not opposed to something happening. We just know that it needs to be something that is owned.
Right.
Whether it's a housing development or whether it's a townhome that's owned.
Okay, and I appreciate it. That's what I was just trying, because I don't get any animosity amongst, other than some are on this side and some are on that side. So that's not the case. I was just trying to look at what would work for you, and so that's all. So that if it is voted down tonight, then they kind of have a base on what they should be looking at to sell to in any future offers.
Sure. Thank you for
I appreciate your time. Thank you. Mr. Lasaw, could you go up to the podium, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So here again, kind of to follow up what I asked Mrs. Chima there, as far as offers, how many offers have y'all received on this piece of property to purchase?
I need to refer that to my realtor, because.
Okay, well, that's fine. And if she'd come up, if you'd go up there.
Mr. Hassan made the offer shortly after we put it on the market, and so we've been going at this for over a year, and it was the only offer that we received.
So right now you've had one offer, and it's been for this product. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And then Mr. Lasaw, in regards to, I went and looked on Brazoria County Appraisal District to kind of get a glimpse as far as taxes owed on this property. And the 25 estimated taxes, it says here as $20,468. So each year that you hold this property, I'm assuming you're going to be in that area of 21,000. If the property values continue to go up, it would probably go up with them. So I understand from y'all's standpoint that the quickest you can sell it, the less burdened you and your family would be for having to pay that, because to carry property, we have sometimes people will come up and say, I've seen that as a green space. I'd love it to be green for forever. And they don't realize, or when they make that statement, they want somebody else to carry that burden. But with what I just said there, is that a fair statement on the tax assessment on this piece of property?
Excuse me, that is a fair assessment, and it's a burden on on our family to have to pay that money for that land. I don't think the neighbors realize that it is a burden, and geez, pay almost $21,000 on taxes on a piece of vacant land. You know, it's just, I don't know. I have a loss of words for it. It's just unbelievable to me that we are we're having to address that. And so, yes, we want to, our deal is we need to sell the land. We need it to go someone else to take care of it, develop it, and produce a nice living area for people, and take over the taxes for us. I'm sorry, I'm really stressed out over this, so I'm just telling everybody the truth. To see friends that I've known for years, I believe people have the right to do what they need to do with their property and their lives. And here I've got neighbors that my mother was friends with. Mr. Valadez's property belonged to my parents at one time, and they sold it to a couple, and then they divorced, and he bought it from them. And so he's really on my parents' land. If my parents knew that he was the one that's going to protest, they would. I can tell you, they would have never sold it. And I don't understand the Chimas. They got their place up for sale, so why do they even care about what's happening on our land? It just makes no sense at all. Yes, they were friends with my parents, with my mother, and my mother was friends with them. And that's what's just so surprising. It's like, they've got the land up for sale, so what do they care what's built there? They're going somewhere else. Danielle told me that when I saw the for sale sign. I asked her, no, we're not selling the business. We're selling the land to get the money and go somewhere else. So, what's that all about? So, anyway, I'm just at a loss of words sometimes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it. Like I said, I'm trying to get a path for, bringing some unity to be able to make it work. Let's see here. So Vance, could you bring up the SR 15, SR 12? So what he's pulled up right here, there's approximately 20 different uses, and this property is currently zoned SR 12, correct? Okay. So in this 20 uses that the Lasalls could do without involving any neighbors, without the first ones that you see right here, those are all by right, correct? Okay, and so for the audience, by right means that that they could go in, get a building permit, or get whatever permits they need to proceed with any one of these uses, and no one except for a building inspector, the city could come in and say, okay, here's what you need to do to be able to accomplish that. And so it's kind of interesting to me, the different things that can be utilized. About half of them, the Lasalls would not be able to utilize. The things that stood out to me are the agricultural field, crops and orchards, and then farm, ranch, and livestock. So if they wanted to put cows on the property, they could do that. Of course, they'd need a fence. So they'd have to come in and get a fence permit. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To do a grass farm, they could come in and say, hey, we're going to do a grass farm, because I know those things are across the city, and it doesn't take much other than to have grass grown, cut down, baled hay, and be able to move on. Is that correct?
I think that would be fine. Yes, sir.
Okay. Past that, there's some really I don't know, to me, different ones. Convent or monastery. That one's kind of different. Down the street, though, I think there is one. There's a religious building on the north side of McCard down the street. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then one thing that stuck out here to me, I've never seen a community group home. I know in the state of Texas that those can pop up pretty much anywhere.
Yes, sir, and I would agree with that.
And I thought it was odd that it was a permitted use, because it doesn't matter where you live. If somebody's got the correct licensing, they can put a halfway home anywhere in any city.
Yes, sir, and the only thing I would mention there is just a nod to the age of this. It is knocking on 19 years old, these uses in this section of the UDC.
I understand that, but this is what we currently have.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. No.
Whether it's 100 years old, 5 years old, if they were to come in and want to do something, this is by right is what they can do.
Sorry, say one more time.
I said, if they wanted to come in and do any one of these uses, these are by right.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't stipulate that we just adopted it or we adopted it 100 years ago.
Correct.
This is what we have to be able to guide our city right now.
Yes, sir.
Now, if we change it and we adopt something different, well, then at that point it would change from there. So, but I mean, as far as a community home, that right there, you don't have to have a zone for that to happen. So at any rate, it's a very, very restricted and limited use that they would be able to have. In my opinion, if I own this piece of property, I would do something along the agricultural aspect so that you could eliminate the $20,000 down to whatever that would be, and then lease the home to either somebody that wanted to live there until they could sell it or do any of the other uses as far as that goes. So then as far as our zoning map in this area, can you pull that up for me real quick?
Mr. Koza, how many more questions do you have?
I don't have many. Do you have the zoning? Do you have the interactive map? Because this one's kind of short.
Yes, just one moment, and just give credit where credit's due. Katie's driving, not me.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. No, we're good. We're good. So while I'm doing this, you know, when I went back and watched the November 18th meeting and the May 5th, actually April 7th and May 5th. In the 18th, on November 18th, we had one council member and one commissioner that were dead set against this. The rest of the comments were along the lines of the product that was being presented at the time was unacceptable. And from there, it was kind of set this whole process on this path of if you listen to staff and if you work with staff, you could get to something that might work. This kind of falls in line with Mayor Cole's comments that on the front end when we do this, these are the type things that we should say no so people don't waste time. And so I'm in firm agreement to that. This type product is not new to Pearland. There's been one that's approved on Fight Road and Cullen. It's under construction right now. There's one in Massey Oaks that is a build to rent. So this is something that's not new to Pearland as far as that goes. And when you pulled this piece up, can you zoom out a little bit for me? I'm trying to get to the part where Brookside pops in. At Max Road and McCard. Okay. So right there on the right-hand side where it says Max Road and it's kind of white or it's not as yellow. That right there, the city of Pearland has no control over. When those pieces of property go up for sale, a developer can go in and pretty much do whatever they want because Brookside has no zoning, no control. So we will have an impact close to this area where it's open season for what wants to be developed right there, because Brookside has no zoning and no control over what gets built. So I just want to put that out there. Mayor, thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it.
Well, Ms. Chavaria.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And just thank everybody for being here today. So I have a question. We keep talking about UDC, but we have some deviations, and I just want to know why we are allowing deviations if we're not, and why we're not following the UDC code.
Yes, ma'am. So great question. Part of the plan development process is to allow unique projects that may not meet our exact code and give them an opportunity to come in and say, hey, I can't hit this part of the code. However, I'll do this to go above and beyond in maybe some other area. For example, landscaping or amenities. And so that's the plan development portion, is basically giving applicants an opportunity to write a custom code for just their product.
Okay, thank you. And then I do have a question for the developer. If you can go to the podium, please. Thank you for being here. And staff, if you can correct me, I believe there are 8 recommendations, and I just want to ask you, are you willing to meet all 8 recommendations?
Yes, matter of fact, we had submitted an informal submission, as Katie noted, on Friday, in which we had incorporated all of them. So I know staff hasn't had a chance to review them, but we were in constant communication with them, and we have made all the changes they've asked for. So yes, we agree to make those changes.
Thank you.
Next up, any other comments related to this? You had no. All right. Mr. Hassan, if you'll stay at the podium real quick, I have a quick question. So build to rent, I'll tell you my standard practice that I've told every developer that comes in here for build to rent. So you're planning to hold this. That's correct. That's what you've done.
Yes.
For past developments. So are these going to be platted, if approved, are these going to be platted as individual lot and block or single reserve?
No, this is a single reserve. And if I can just digress for a second, that is a function of the capital markets today. What funds a lot of these developments is a type of debt that's available. It's HUD. Is primarily used for construction of these types of units, and HUD would not fund individually taxed parcel development. That's a very important thing to note for the council, for even future developments, is that in order for capital to flow in a city and for these things to get done where housing gets done, they wouldn't back a project unless it's a single plat. So that is why we have to do that.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure on that. Raj, a question was raised in the public hearing about how the detention pond. Again, there's no drainage plan in approval. You have to get the zoning in place before all the other components come in. However, it was stated, or the question was asked, how would this detention pond, where it's located around a business, get out to either Adamo Lane or McCard Road to outflow, obviously north to the creek?
Yes, sir. The only way that this detention pond will work for extreme event is to flow into Adamo Lane at 100-year flood elevation. Apart from that, I don't know I think this is going to be stormwater detention pond with lift stations. So there is a provision in City of Pearland EDCM criteria to be up to 75% pump and 25% gravity flow. So all those things needs to be met and required before we approve the project. Again, there is no straightforward extreme event flow towards McCard Road. It has to go to the Adamo Lane for this to drain. Again,
and it would be pipe, correct?
Yeah. That Adamo Lane, when it's reconstructed, it has to meet all city's criteria. It has to be curb and gutter storm sewer system that should outfall into McCard system, and that takes the flow to Clear Creek.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions or I guess concerns. I understand you said that the exit onto Adamo is emergency use only. Where's, oh, he was back there. I'm sorry. I just started looking at the thing, didn't realize you walked away.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So that means the residents, all of them on a day-to-day basis, are going to have to exit McCard.
Correct.
Right? So if you want to go west, you got to exit McCard. jump across to the outside lane and make a U-turn.
Correct.
That's pretty concerning for me from just a traffic standpoint. I understand we're in a PD stage. A TIA comes later, if one's necessary. Staff, correct me if I heard you wrong, but based on our standards, there's a situation involved where there wouldn't even be a TIA on this.
Member Byron, let me address that. I think I already questioned that Adamo Lane exit is going to be just emergency. That should be the primary exit for the vehicles that goes west of Adamo Lane intersection, because we don't want all the vehicles to U-turn at Adamo Lane opening, because that will cause more issues, because the vehicle has to travel 2 lanes and U-turn. That is going to cause conflict. So that is going to be a comment. I don't think like we would allow that. And again, based on the numbers, it's not going to meet TIA requirement. But again, it's based on the location of it and based on the type of development, we still require TIA. The level of TIA will be different from what we have, because we have 5 different levels of TIA. That depending on the size of the project and the volume it produces, it can be small intersection only, or it can go from one intersection to other intersection to collect the data. So that I haven't defined, we don't know that yet, but we will require TIA to see how to mitigate the traffic and how to improve. So it may be internal traffic too. If we force that, they need to come up with a plan. How do we tell the residents that if you need to go west, use Adamo Lane exit? If, again, we don't know that yet, but if that doesn't work, if we see accidents, we might install no U-turn at the Adamo Lane too. Again, that's just random my opinion. How do we tackle the situation to avoid traffic conflict and accidents in future?
Thank you for that, Raj. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how you would enforce don't do that unless we sat somebody there all the time. So I think that would be tricky. And that lends to one of my concerns is the people living there, they're going to go west. I understand your intent is to make it an emergency exit only, but hearing from staff, they're not going to allow that. So it's going to be a primary use, which means a good number of the people driving in and out of this complex are going to use Adamo every day. And so that's going to create more of a traffic usage on that road. I understand that part of the PD is improving Adamo, right? We don't know what that looks like right now in here, so that would be a question that I would like answered is what do we mean by improving it? What size are we getting at? What are we dealing with? Because you do have all the neighbors further down the road that I certainly wouldn't want to be sitting there for 30 minutes every morning trying to get out, right?
Can I say something? First, if you do want to allow the exit onto Adamo, we'd request that it not be an entrance. So if it is going to be an exit of some kind, that it only be exit, no entrance there. That should mitigate a lot of the traffic. The street itself is going to be massively improved because it's a large bar ditch, a very narrow pavement section. So the adjacent to the development, it's going to be a massive change in terms of quality, exit, stormwater management, all that stuff. So, but we definitely, we've done the numbers on our side. We definitely do not want an entrance onto Adamo.
I understand that, and I did drive out there. You're right. It's very narrow. Widening it on one side, you've got all the utility poles. On your side of the development, you've got all these utility poles. To widen it, are you looking to move all the utilities? You're going to try to go the other way. I think there's a lot to deal with and land acquisition there to make Adamo work. So that's definitely something that is a concern for me. And I'll echo what I said at our joint workshop. We have a UDC. I don't like the idea of us continually modifying our UDC all the time. I understand the purpose for planned developments. I do get concerned. I understand what Vance was saying, more of a custom code situation. I don't know that I'm super comfortable with trading impervious cover for trees. I think those things are two very, very different things because we're talking about drainage. I do understand having the drainage plan. It wouldn't be, for the residents that are concerned about drainage, it wouldn't be in this stage of the process that you would see that. But BDD4 is definitely going to be involved in this process. The staff's going to be involved in this process. So probably some sort of catch basins in the parking area that transfers water underground to the detention pond, things of that nature. That's going to be addressed. So drainage, I know I don't live there, but I would say drainage would be one of the things I'd be the least concerned about, because we do have a lot of controls in place at the city level for that reason. I appreciate hearing that Stone Road is not draining the way it used to after the expansion. Hopefully staff heard that and we can see what's going on there. So that is an issue for me, and the density still is an issue for me. I think in some ways we're trying to square peg round hole this type of thing. I know there are development properties that are zoned, to Member Koza's point, that this type of development could be built by right in town in other areas. So I do have a challenge with this. At the same time, I will say I appreciate from the neighbors up and down the street that you recognize that something's gonna happen with this property. There's no way. Generally, when we get opposition to projects, as again, Member Koza pointed out, it's, well, I just don't want anybody to do anything with it. You know, I don't want to own it, I don't want to pay for it, I don't want to maintain it or take care of it, but I don't want anybody to do anything with it.
Right.
So I appreciate the recognition that something's going to happen here, and I just think this is a difficult one to get over the hump with the current design. And I appreciate you guys, the changes that you've made, continuing to work on it, talking to the neighbors. That's all the things that we suggest that people do. At the end of the day, I think we just have a hard time with it. It's not affordable housing. You've been honest in admitting that as well, that the rental price point doesn't put it in that affordable housing category. So it doesn't accomplish some of the things that the people who have spoken in favor of it, their reasoning behind being in favor of the project is creating affordable housing, but this isn't creating affordable housing. So this is just really, really challenging. It's probably the one that we've had the most amount of input from both sides of the coin of any project we've had since I've been on my very short time of a year on council. So I appreciate the input. I think there still needs to be some work on this one.
All right. Last call. Mayor Pro, excuse me, Mr.
Ex-Mayor Pro Tem.
Ex-Mayor Pro Tem.
We've got 27 other people on the other item.
Yeah. No, real quick. I mean, this is a tough one. Staff says yes. P&Z said yes. Comp plan says yes. There's clearly opposition, and they're in four. In my opinion, tie goes to the landowner and the property rights. I can count, and it takes 2 no votes for it to fail tonight. So sounds like it's gonna fail, but my yes vote is just more on principle. Tie goes to the landowner and landowner rights.
All right. Any other comments? Close this docketed public hearing. Move to new business item number 1. Mr. Carbone, would you place that on the table, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action. First reading of ordinance 2000M-272. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We've had staff report. We've had public input. We've had questions, comments from City Council in the public hearing. We'll remind City Council that it will require a supermajority to approve, which is 6 out of the 7. So with that, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavadilla?
Aye.
Member Cade?
No.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
No.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Motion fails 4-3.
All right. Now, before we move on, I'd like to highlight something. First off, thank you for the professionalism in coming through this. These are never fun. They're never easy. You've got people, neighbors, and whatnot. So thank you for that. Secondly, not that it will affect us immediately in the city of Pearland, but I will tell you, there's a bill that will pass both the House and, in fact, it's already passed the House and the Senate, that the governor will sign for affordable. It's an affordable issue. We're exempted out of it currently because it starts at 150,000 in population, but it forces cities in any residential zoning to have tiny lots. We as a city, we were able to get it from 90,000 to 150,000, so we would not be in it. It forces us to accept it, regardless of what our Unified Development Code says, regardless of what our zoning says. It forces it. Number 2, there's no public hearing on it. means you as a neighbor have it forced on you. There are 5, 6, 7 acre lots up and down Adamo. Once we hit 150, what do you think is going to happen? So that is something that we as a community struggle and object to. We don't want the state coming in and dictating our zoning and eroding our zoning authority. At the same time, I highlight that because this type of evening would not occur under that. Secondly, they're doing the same thing with apartments and multifamily. So just understand the state is forcing these types of things. With that, we'll move on to public hearing number 2. Ms. Katie? Same thing. You'll just read into the record what it's about, and then go right into staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second public hearing tonight is a request by Gulf Tex Roofing and Services, the applicant on behalf of Hal Properties LLC, for approval of a conditional use permit, or a CUP, for an expansion to an existing auto repair minor use within the general business or GB district on approximately 0.9125 acres of land, to wit. The legal description is found in the agenda, and the general location is 10331 Broadway Street here in Pearland, Texas. The applicant is proposing a 480 square foot building expansion to house tires for the auto repair facility that is currently existing on the site. The CUP is required because this is an enlargement of an auto repair minor use, which requires a CUP within the GB district. So the use itself requires the CUP, and also the enlargement of the use would require a CUP. As you can see here, the property is located in the general business zoning district. It has general commercial to the north and the west, and general business to the right. Across the street is the ETJ, or the extraterritorial jurisdiction. It is surrounded by self-storage to the north and directly west, Walmart in the ETJ past it, multi-tenant retail to the east, and a shopping center to the south. The future land use map identifies this as the business park future land use area. The property, that land use identifies it as professional offices, corporate offices, medical buildings, hospitals, supporting retail. So the supporting retail is where this may fall into with the restaurants, because this is a minor repair auto repair minor, which is the sale of those tires. The building expansion in question is this portion here. They currently are being stored in a temporary structure or temporary type structure back behind the building, and this would allow them to be enclosed within the space. There is a small amount of green space which is being removed as this development would take place. However, that green space is in excess of the required green space for the site, so they still meet that requirement. And then there is the relocation of the dumpster, which would be relocated to here. It still does meet the dumpster requirements for the site as well. The proposed use does meet the established criteria for approval of a CUP and is consistent with the comprehensive plan, including that future land use plan and thoroughfare plan. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP, and the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of the proposed CUP as well. And that in staff report.
All right, thank you for that. Is the applicant present? Do you have a presentation, or are you just here to answer questions? All right, got it. We'll move forward, asking for those who wish to speak for or against this proposed request. You can go to the podium, give us your name and address. Name for the record, excuse me. We're not doing addresses anymore. Seeing no one moving in that direction, second request. Third and final request, those wishing to speak for or against this proposed request. So with that, we'll move to questions, comments, concerns from City Council. Anyone? Joseph?
Just for staff, just out of curiosity, why is the CUP required for this?
Because auto repair minor in this zoning district requires a CUP, and if there's an expansion of that use, it requires a CUP. So
just
because
it's auto
the
related.
Unified Development Code
Okay.
says so.
Okay, that's like 480 square feet. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, maybe we need to update the definition of expansion. Like, this is essentially a lean-to behind Discount Tire. And, yeah, and remind me on the dumpster, why is that called out on the site plan?
Only because the location is moving from its current position.
We're requiring them to build a concrete wall to surround the dumpster.
Yes, the screening would be required with it.
Thank you. Sorry you had to sit through this, guys.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll end this docketed public hearing, move to new business item number 2. Ms. Chavaria, would you place that on the table, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration possible action resolution number R 2025-CUP 2025-0107. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, staff report, as well as opportunity for questions, comments from council. Madam Secretary, a call for the vote.
Member Chavarria?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, with that, new business item number 3. Mr. Byron, would you present that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Consideration and possible action resolution number R 2025-76. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, staff report. Trent, is he going to present all 4 in the?
I believe we're going to present all 4 at once. So, Mayor and Council, good evening. And the next 3 items are our debt sale for our fiscal year 25 capital improvement program. Every year after the approval of the budget in October, we also approve an intent to reimburse project costs from future bond proceeds. And that allows us to go ahead and start those projects once the fiscal year starts. The actions tonight are to actually start the process to sell those bonds. We do refine the amounts necessary based on the current project status to determine the actual amount we sell versus what we did in the intent to reimburse, and that information's in your packet. So the different items include the general fund certificates of obligation, the water and sewer fund certificates of obligation, the general obligation bonds, that also includes a refunding. And then there's a 4th item. The 4th item, I believe it's item number 6. Associated with this, it's a defeasance of certificates of obligation associated with TERS projects that we have been reimbursed for through the TERS and the Development Authority of Pearland. So Mr. John Roebuck with BOK is going to present the details tonight. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Mayor, council members, John Roebuck, BOK Financial Securities. Thanks for having me tonight.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you also, Mayor. We have a presentation for you that's going to go through these bond issues that Trent talked about a second ago. Before we do that, though, I'd like to go through the current bond market. This is the Bond Buyer Index, weekly average of municipal rates across the country with a AA rated average. You'll see on the far right there, the red line represents revenue debt. We are not issuing revenue debt at this time. We're issuing all general obligation debt, which is represented in the blue line. The current rate's at 5.24%, slightly higher than the average for the last 25 years. We've seen a lot of volatility in the market recently with the tariff talks, also with the global conflicts. We also noticed on Friday that Moody's downgraded United States debt. So we have seen some weird things in the market the last couple of months, but we do think, given that the inflation fears have subsided somewhat, and the Feds have come out and basically said they are projecting that rates will come down 2 to 3 times over the course of the year. We'll think by the time we sell bonds, rates will be a little bit lower than this. Plus, with your rating currently at AA and AA plus from S&P and Fitch, you have good ratings that you will be able to market, and investors will be interested in buying your debt. In this proposal, we're also proposing a refunding of existing bonds that are currently callable. And to give you kind of a historical look at what you've done in the past by refunding and defeasing bonds, since 2015, the city has saved over $47 million in interest costs, which is a direct help for taxpayers in the cities and helps manage the tax rate on the debt service side for the city. All of those refunding bonds that are available to refund, there's about $70.5 million currently callable. Unfortunately, rates are a little high right now, and only about 24.5 are callable that can generate savings of more than 3% present value savings for the city. We are going to ask you, if you don't mind, to approve up to 70.5. All the bonds are currently callable. So should rates come down by the time we sell these bonds, we have the opportunity to sell those bonds and lock in savings north of that 3% present value savings for the city. But you are looking at several different bond issues, including the 2013 permanent improvement bonds, the 2013 certificates of obligation, 2014 permanent improvement and refunding bonds, and also 2015 permanent improvement and refunding bonds, all to generate a little over 3.0% net present value savings for the district, for the city, excuse me. From the debt service standpoint, permanent improvement and refunding bonds, we combine these bond issues for economies of scale, reduce interest issuance costs. So there on the left, you have your current debt service requirements for the city, less the bonds to be refunded, which were those 4 series we mentioned earlier. And then the new bonds, the portion of the refunding of the permanent improvement and refunding bonds, this is the refunding portion. We sell about $23 million in bonds. We generate about $70,000, $75,000 of savings over the next 13 years, for a total of $966,000 interest cost savings. In the next 2 columns are the new money portion, where we sell about $9.7 million to generate $9,972,220 in proceeds for the city, which is more detail on the next page. This is the estimated source and use of funds. Again, we split these, it's all one issue, but we split it into 2 separate portions. You can see the refunding portion and the new money portion. Refunding portion, 23.6 million bonds to be sold. Based on current market, we do anticipate generating a premium, or investors will pay more than par amount for the bonds, of about 1.1 million, less your issuance costs of expenses. It generates a proceeds of $25 million for the escrow fund to pay those bonds off. Estimated all-cost interest rate on the refunding portion is at 3.6%. And again, that generates the $966,000 of savings, or 3.198% net present value savings for the city. The new money portion, we're estimated to sell about $9.7 million in bonds. Again, premium in this current market paid by investors will generate the $9.9 million in proceeds for the city. And again, on the new money portion, because it's a 30-year debt, the all-cost interest rate would be a 4.823%. Then for item number 4 on your agenda is their certificates of obligation, 2025As. And again, far left column is your current debt, which includes the proposed permanent improvement and refunding bonds debt service. And then we add in the principal interest in total for the proposed 2025A certificates of obligation. And we'd sell about $18.9 million to generate $19,288,489 in proceeds for the city. And again, detailed in the estimated source of use in the next page. Shows again the principal amount being issued of about $18.9 million. Again, premium from investors, less cost of issuance. It generates a $19,288,489 for the city. And again, the all-cost interest rate again for the 30-year debt is 4.766%. And then for the last bond issue, it's the certificate of obligation series 2025B, which is for water and sewer related projects. Again, 30-year debt. Again, the debt service there on the far left is your current debt with those first 2 bond issues. And then again, this debt will be paid for the water and sewer. So although we add it on the slide here, it will be paid from the water and sewer side, not from the ad valorem taxes on the debt service side. But we're looking to sell about $114 million in bonds, generate the $118,046,000 in proceeds in the CIP. And again, more detail here on the source and use of funds. $114.8 million issued, premium of $4.2 million, less cost of issuance, generates that $18,046,000 in proceeds for the city. And again, the estimated all-cost interest rate as the current market is a 4.772%. To get this accomplished, now we're asking you to approve the first reading of the ordinance for the permanent improvement and refunding bonds, and then authorize a notice of intent to issue the 2 certificates of obligation, 2025A and 2025Bs. If you all do that, we'll publish the first notice and post it on your website, the notice of intent on May 28th, and again, following week on June 4th. We have to publish those for 2 consecutive weeks, 45 days before we sell the bonds, which on the next page we show coming back for the second reading of the ordinance of the permanent improvement refunding bonds. By the rating calls the week of June 30th, and then sell the bonds July 28th, and then close the bond issues on August 26, 2025, at which point the city will receive the funds for those projects under CIP. I'm happy to answer your questions you have on the financing structure. Mr. Woody, your bond counsel, is here. Jackson Walker, I'm sure he'll happy to answer your questions you have on the notice of intent or on the ordinance for the permanent improvement and refunding bonds.
All right, thank you, guys. We'll throw it open for questions to City Council. Patel?
Thank you. John, can you explain to me, I mean, you went at 100 miles an hour.
Sorry.
And, you know, we've been here for a while. And so things were moving a lot slower before. Let's go back. You're saying we're going to refinance these bonds and pay some old debt off and put new debt plus sell some additional bonds for the projects that we have bonds passed.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. And the reason we're paying off the old debt, you're saying the interest rates are better now? Because from what I see right there, I mean, you're talking about 4% interest rate. So why are we paying those off? Explain that to me.
Well, they're currently callable right now. So anytime we can generate more than 3% net present value savings, which is kind of the threshold. So we look at these. Some of these bonds have been callable for a little bit. In fact, they're callable anytime now because, again, the call dates were prior to this date. Anytime that happens, you have some economies where you can basically issue new debt that's got lower interest rates, refund higher interest rate bonds. You'll see on the far right there, you have 4% all the way to 5%. Most of the bonds that are over 4 1/4, 4 1/8 interest rate can generate savings depending on how short they are on that yield curve.
Okay. So what is the new interest rate you said?
Well, on this bond issue, it's 3.6%.
That's the new interest rate that we're going to put on the bonds for the refinance.
Correct. And we're paying off 4 to 5% bonds. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions, comments?
Yep.
Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. John, you're on slide 5. You were on slide 5.
Sorry.
7's good, whatever. Net premium, that 1.1 million. Explain. Every time you pitch these to us, it's so exciting. We're getting this net premium. Expound on that.
Sure. All it is when you go to market the bonds, par amount means you sell them at the face value. So each bond sells at $5,000 increments. Par is $5,000. Investors right now are paying more for a higher coupon with a lower yield, and that spread is basically a premium. We're starting to see more discounts in the market, but again, right now we're going back to the premium because that's what investor wants. Discount would be basically you got a lower coupon and a higher yield on those bonds. And that's all it is, the spread is different. So basically, the more money we receive when we sell these bonds, we're able to reduce the amount of bonds we have to issue to generate those proceeds for the city.
I track with all that, but the reason we're getting the premium is because we're issuing them at a higher than market rate.
The coupon is just what the city pays back, but again, it's based on the yield. So the yield that they're receiving, the investor receiving, is what you're paying back. You're paying back the coupon, but again, they're reducing the amount of the par amount you have to issue. So all in all, it equals out.
It does, unless we set this high coupon, and then it allows you to come in 4 years from now, say, hey, we got these high coupons at 6%. It's time to refinance. Let's do this game again. And so how do we, as a council, keep that in check? Because when we go back and look, if you go to slide 3,
right.
You know, we issued these bonds, and I would guess back in 13, 14, and 15, when we issued these, we sold them at a premium. And so one could argue that 5%, that $3 million bond at the bottom at 5% could have been sold at 4.5%. We wouldn't have got the premium. We would have sold more debt, but we wouldn't be sitting here going through a refinance process.
So actually, we look at this as we go into the sales process. We actually have conversations with the underwriters while they have conversations with their accounts. And based on that yield and what their desire is, we try to minimize the yield. And again, as a result, the coupon to get the best, lowest interest cost for the city. So although the coupon is 5%, 4%, 3%, we're looking at the yield being issued. And so we are trying to squeeze that yield as much as possible. And again, we look at the yield to maturity, not the yield to call. And again, I'm getting more technical here than you probably want me to, but
I'm good.
as long as the spread between a 4% and a 5%, if the 4% is better for the city, we go with the 4%, if that's what the investor is wanting, that the demand is. We try to squeeze as much, lower the yield as much as possible to get the lowest cost for the city. So if it's a 5%, because that's a market and we can lower the yield, that's what we're going to do.
That market's set by underwriters?
It's set by investors. It's institutional investors usually. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are, and I will say we are seeing on the back end some discount, but again, for the sake of just basically showing you current market, we use 5% coupons.
Okay.
These numbers.
I mean, I think it would make sense to lean towards the lower coupon, right?
We try to because usually the yield to maturity is better.
Right.
But again, it's up to whatever the investors want to buy.
Okay. Have we looked at private placement? I know in the past for some of the shorter maturities, we've gone private placement, and looking at some of the refi opportunities, they're 3 and 4 years out on slide 4. So does it make sense?
We have those conversations with banks. I'm trying to find the right way of saying this. It's a crapshoot sometimes when you do private placements because we take these out to bids, and sometimes banks have the capacity to come in and buy these bonds at a rate that's agreeable, and sometimes they don't have the capacity because their cost of funds is too expensive. I know there was one done earlier. Actually, Victor and I were talking about this earlier. There's one done at City of Hitchcock today. It was 10-year debt. They got 3.95%. The cover bid on that was over 5%. So the bank was willing to buy the business, to build a relationship with the city. So yes, we look for opportunities like that. Again, it's if the markets come down and we can refund all $70 million, I'm not sure a bank would be willing to eat up $70 million of 15-year debt. And again, banks usually look for shorter structures, 10, 12 years at the most.
Yeah, I guess that's, if you go to slide 4 and you look, there's 21 million right there within 4 years from 26 to 20.
Correct.
Back to your analogy of crapping out, what if we go to private placement and everybody comes in at 6%? Are we committed going private placement or
no?
Go to the market?
No, I can have conversations with some banks and see what they're interested in purchasing shorter term.
I'd be a fan of that, and so if that comes about and it makes sense, I'd like to see you back to see if we need to approve maybe a bigger parameter order, however that would work legally.
Yeah, we're going to ask you to approve a $70 million parameter order for the refunding portion, and again, we can separate it, and so it gives the flexibility to do that. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good question. Real quick, John, go back to slide 3 just real quick. Just for those in the room and maybe watching online, as you read some of this chart here, second column from the right, call, date price, explain anytime at 100 what that means.
It means at par, excuse me. We don't have any debt. We used to, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we used to have calls at 102, 101, 100 and a half, basically as a premium to call the bonds early. We set these up when we sold these bonds either with a 9 or 10-year call at par to allow us to refund them if we need to or can, based on the market rate at the time.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Real quick, John, in your opinion, in today's market, where do you think we're going to be by end of the year?
I hope we're lower. I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball. If I did, I would probably be on a beach somewhere right now. I think rates will come down. I think there's a lot of, say chaos, but there's a lot of volatility and chaos right now in the market, a lot of unknowns. I think as this new administration starts setting their goals and priorities and implementing them, you've seen the market fluctuate. I do think once things settle down, some of these tariff talks and trade deals will get worked out. I think you'll see rates come back down.
I guess I'm going to piggyback off what Councilmember Carbone said then. Wouldn't it be better to go short term, to have a short term call if these things start dropping?
We can try to squeeze. You're going to pay if you do a 9 or 8 year call. We probably can get away with a 9-year call on these bonds. If you go any shorter than that, you're going to pay more in the interest rate because investors are going to basically want some security, and so they're going to pay a premium in the yield to have a shorter call than 9 years. You do a 2 or 3 year, I mean, you're probably going to pay maybe an additional 30 basis points per maturity.
I mean, I
don't
guess
wanna
it
do.
depends on how much you think it's going to drop, right? I mean, if it's going to start dropping, if it is.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's like you said, crystal ball, but
I don't think it's going to drop a ton. I think it'll drop. I mean, I think it will be back to 4.5 on these deals instead of 4.75. I don't think it's going to drop a full percentage point.
okay, fair enough. Thank you.
John, real quick, the 70.535 million up to, you remember which resolution that was?
Should be I think it's this third one. Sorry, it's the ordinance. I'm sorry. It's the 3, 4, 5. It's number 5.
Number 5, okay. I'm just making a note so when we get to that one. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we're going to take item 3 first. We're going to work through them. We'll put each one of them on the table, but we're going to be voting on item number 3, consideration and possible action resolution number R 2025-76. Madam Secretary will call for the vote.
Member Pro Tem Byram. Sorry.
Aye.
Member Koza.
Aye.
Member Carbone.
Aye.
Member Shavadilla.
Aye.
Member Cade.
Aye.
Member Fernandez.
Aye.
Member Patel.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Ms. Cade, if you would place number 4 on the table, please.
Sure. Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2025-75. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We've had explanation and staff report on this. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Cade.
Aye.
Member Fernandez.
Aye.
Member Patel.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram.
Aye.
Member Koza.
Aye.
Member Carbone.
Aye.
Member Shavadilla.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, moving to number 5. Mr. Coker, can we add the 70.5 up to 70.535 million in the motion, or do we need to amend it?
I believe that's already built into the ordinance, I believe.
Built into the ordinance?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Just making
Right
sure.
in there, sorry.
Mr. Fernandez, would you present item number 5, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, first reading of ordinance number 1647. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, Madam Secretary will call for the vote.
Member Fernandez.
Aye.
Member Patel.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram.
Aye.
Member Koza.
Aye.
Member Carbone.
Aye.
Member Shavadilla.
Aye.
Member Cade.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, same thing. Mr. Patel, if you'll put item number 6 on the table, please.
Yes, Mayor. Considering possible action, resolution R 2025-77. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comment?
Mayor, quick presentation from Mr. Roebuck on the, these are the COs related to TERS projects that we are defeasing.
Trent. Mayor, council members, we've done this. I believe this is the 3rd year in a row we've done this. We're starting to receive money from the Shadow Creek or the TERS, Development Authority of Pearland, and taking that cash that we receive for reimbursement for the projects the city has done in the past, we're taking that cash and paying off some of this debt that we issued for those projects. If you'll notice here on the first page, we are looking to defease the remaining portion of this Series 2020B Certificate of Obligation, and then a portion of this 2021 Certificate of Obligation, an amount totaling $12.6 million. To do so, we'd actually put the money into the escrow to the call date, which is on, excuse me, I went too fast there, which is on March 1 of 2026. And those bonds will be legally defeased, and we actually lock in some savings here on the far right column. On the very bottom, estimated debt service savings by calling these bonds early is $2.6 million in savings. So that's real interest cost savings to the city. And then we'll also, based on the cost, we're still going to leave about $3.5 million in cash for that reimbursement in your debt service fund to help manage the tax rate in future years. To do this, we're asking you to approve, going forward with this tonight, the defeasance the defeasance plan, and then we'll structure and size the escrow on Monday, May 26th, and then close and have those bonds paid off on Tuesday, June 10th. Happy to answer any questions you have on the financing plan. Mr. Whitty is here to answer any questions you have on the defeasance order. We're asking you to approve tonight.
All right, and I might add, there was a bill in front of the House and the Senate that even defeasance counts against you. Makes no sense. You save $2.6 million, and the legislature wants to penalize you for doing that. So just
being fiscally responsible.
Letting you know the craziness that happens in Austin. Any other questions, comments about this?
Real quick, Mayor. So at the end, you mentioned we're reserving 3.5 million. So we received, what, 18 million?
I think it was, I don't have the exact amount with me right here, but I think it's what, 13 and 3, it's about 16.6 million, I believe, was the total amount you received back in December.
Okay. And so why aren't we defeasing more?
We planned, based on the tax rate analysis we've run over the years, we use that money to basically keep the debt service tax rate at a certain level so it doesn't fluctuate. So we use that as a cushion to manage that tax rate from going up and down as we issue debt, CIP. We could if you want to, but we built this in the model to use a portion of this for managing the tax rate. Keep it steady.
So that 3.5 extra will sit in the debt service fund and be used for debt service payments in lieu of adjusting the tax rate. And this has been modeled out and everything. Okay.
Yes. In fact, last year, I think it was brought up, why don't we just leave all of those reimbursements in the debt service fund to manage the tax rate and lower the tax rate? And we were asked to basically leave a portion in there going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Chavarria?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. With that, we're coming back to Mr. Koza. If you'll put item number 7 on the table, please.
Yes, Mayor, consideration and possible action, resolution number R2025-59. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before we move on to staff report, I believe we have several speakers who have signed up to speak. Mayor Forrest, yeah, let's just, Mayor Pro Tem, if you'll present those. Oh, well, it's basically presenting the contract for renewal. Let's get their comments on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we have several, so we'll kind of handle this one the same way we did our previous comments. I'll call you guys up 3 at a time, and if you'll state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes, and feel free to say, I agree with the person that already said the same thing if you would like, but you're welcome to say what you want to say. So Noe Montoya, Marilyn Ramirez Segundo, and Kim Hatton, you guys would make your way to the podium.
Hello, my name is Noe Montoya, resident here in Pearland. I wanted to share some thoughts. I co-own Quick Snap Events. We're a small business here based out of Pearland. We moved here 3 years ago. Shortly after joining the Chamber of Pearland, we were introduced to the Pearland Innovation Hub, so we're in support of that organization. It has become a very valuable resource for us in connecting with other business owners, and we're very happy with the support that we received from Ms. Sonia and Ms. Carolina. The hub is very welcoming and insightful space to share with other entrepreneurs, learn and connect. One example is when I attended one of their events, there was discussion that helped us rethink how we approached our partnerships and pricing. We're in the event industry, which is always fluctuating, and being able to meet other business owners and have those conversations to help bounce ideas off of each other, it helps a ton. They've given us tools to be able to get support through the hub network, including supporting services that they provide, and it's all free of charge, which of course helps a growing business when you're starting off. It's to me, the Pearland Innovation Hub is not just a resource center, it's a catalyst. It helps us clarify the vision to strengthen our operations, and it's a truly supportive type of a community within business owners. Shortly before I met the team of the Innovation Hub, I was laid off. So given that I had a small business, they gave a huge boost in confidence in a very wary time in my life. I ask that you consider renewal of their contract. I hope that you guys don't just see it as a budget item. It's really an investment in people, in small businesses here in Pearland. And I hope to be able to have their support, and they're going to help continue us grow, just like other businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Segundo, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Ramirez Segundo. I'm the founder of Yellow Apron Baking Company, a local bakery. I'm also excited to say that I've been lucky enough to work with the Pearland Innovation Hub recently over the last couple of months. Just over a week ago, I participated in their pitch competition and walked away with a win. But the real reward wasn't just the prize. It was everything that happened leading up to that moment and immediately after. The Pearland Innovation Hub gave me and other small business owners something that is often hard to find in entrepreneurship: real support, real resources, and real connection. The kind that makes you believe your business can grow and gives you the tools to actually do it. The Pearland Innovation Hub was launched to be exactly this: a place where local businesses, entrepreneurs, and dreamers could come together and find what they need to thrive. Whether it's through the Hub platform with free coaching, access to grants, or practical tools like help with web design and marketing, they're not just talking about innovation. They're building it right here in our community. It's easy to say support small businesses. It's harder to create an ecosystem that actually does it, and PIH has done exactly that. For me, being part of the pitch competition was more than just a business milestone. It was a reminder that my story matters, that the work I do matters, that the treats that I bake, the ones rooted in family traditions and joyful indulgence, have a place in this economy. PIH didn't just give me a stage. They gave me confidence, strategy, resources, feedback, visibility, and a network I didn't even know I needed until I found it. They helped me move from "I hope this works" to "I know we're building something meaningful." All of this is possible because someone decided Pearland's entrepreneurs were worth investing in. Continued funding means that more business owners like me, women, people of color, bakers, artisans, creators, innovators, they get the same access to the same support that I did. It means more local wins, more local jobs, and more local pride. We always talk about keeping small businesses alive. PIH is helping to do just that with intention, innovation, and heart, and I truly believe Pearland is better because of it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Hatton, followed by William, and Gladys Kuda. You could make your way up as well. Go ahead, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Good evening. I'm Kim Hatton. I'm the owner of AB Clean. It's a commercial cleaning company. We have been operating in Pearland for 9 years and servicing Pearland and the greater Houston area. We currently employ 15 employees in this local community. One of our vendors is in Pearland as well. And thanks to the Pearland Innovation Hub, we received 20 hours of expert consulting that we chose to focus on operations because we were facing challenges with scalability. That support made an immediate impact. We streamlined procedures, clarified job roles, and strengthened our employee and client satisfaction programs, also reducing our supply cost by 11%. More importantly, we gained a lasting partnership with our expert. I'm just going to give him a shout out, Mike Nichols. He's not here, but he helped us improve not just our operations, but our financial strategy. He believed he could turn our company around within 1 quarter, and he did. We started working with Mike at the end of October. By the end of first quarter 2025, we increased our sales 7%, reduced our labor cost 20%, and boosted our profit margin from, I don't even want to tell you what it was, to 40%. This kind of transformation is what's possible when small businesses get targeted expert support. It levels the playing field, accelerates growth, and fuels local job creation. The Pearland Innovation Hub also hosts networking events that was brought up. already. So I'm not gonna, talk about that, but I strongly encourage continued investment in this initiative because it's working. And when small businesses thrive, our entire community benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Gary, you state your name. You have 3 minutes.
William Gray Jr. and Grace. When you meet needs in a community, that's small town. The hardest part about Pearland is how do we grow and keep that small town feel? And if you allow me to quote Mayor Cole, he was on my podcast, Business Coffee Hour, he said, "I've never seen a need go unmet, caveat, as long as the need is known." In a city where 82% of businesses are locally owned, Pearland Innovation Hub plays a pivotal role in meeting a need from our community of entrepreneurs in sustaining and growing our local economy. Now, in 2019, I moved to Pearland after 13 years of serving the United States military. I was in the Army, that's why I have Grace. Shortly after that, in 2021, I started a business called Gray Marketing. My wife and I do shaved ice and lemonades with Snowy, Texas. We also do coaching and consulting for leadership roles. But the part that really comes in for Pearland Innovation Hub is I went to Galveston County for help in 2021. Great organization, the Small Business Development Center, worked with Amy Reed, phenomenal place. But over the years, we started to say, how do we get more involved in Pearland? And I know I've heard many of you say this. What makes Pearland so great is Pearland's a city of choice. You choose to live here, you choose to work here, you choose to grow a business here. And I can tell you from the events that I've been attending that even the people in Houston have been choosing to come to the Pearland Innovation Hub's events. And it's no doubt in my mind that that's directly correlated to the Ms. Sonia Cacique, thank you for all your help for doing that, for being the navigator, as well as since the Pearland Chamber of Commerce has taken charge of that contract. And so I say this to you because here in this community of choice, Pearland Innovation Hub has really given a spark to us to say, hey, there's these local faces that do business in the community because people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And at the Hub, you begin to become known, liked, and trust. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. And Grace, appreciate it. Gladys Kuda. She may have called it a night. Ali Udawala. And David Graham. You make your way to the podium, sir. State your name and you have 3 minutes.
Hey, my name is Ali Udawala. I'm with the San Jacinto Small Business Development Corporation. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm honored to speak today about the valuable relationship between the Pearland Innovation Hub and SBDC and the tremendous impact this partner has on our business community. Let me begin by emphasizing the positive impact the Pearland Innovation Hub has had on the SBDC and vice versa. Through our collaborative referral system, we ensure the clients are directed to the right resources at the right time. When a founder walks into Innovation Hub, full of ideas, they are quickly connected to SBDC advisor like myself for deeper one-on-one business advising. This synergy shortens the time it takes for the business owner to move from concept to execution, and that's powerful. What makes this partnership so unique is that what each of us offer is not like anything else available locally. The Innovation Hub provides a creative space for ideation, collaboration, and community building. Meanwhile, the SBDC brings decades of experience in business strategy, financial planning, and growth advising. Together, we offer a full spectrum support system from brainstorming and validation of funding and scaling. It is rare to see this level of coordination between ecosystem partners, and Pearland should be proud of that. Clients frequently mention that welcoming environment, the programming that sparks new thinking, and the encouragement they receive from both staff and peers. For many, it is first experience of true entrepreneurial community right here in Pearland. And personally, I've witnessed how Innovation Hub is becoming a positive asset to Pearland community. I see it in startups who are staying in the Pearland, hiring locally, and reinvesting in the local economy. It is more than a building, it is launchpad for ideas and growth. In closing, the collaboration between SBDC and Pearland Innovation Hub isn't just effective, it is essential. We are not just helping businesses, we are cultivating a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem right here in Pearland. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
David Graham, I'm the owner of Spacious, where the Innovation Hub is hosted. When I started in business 20 years ago in Pearland, I didn't know what I was doing, and I think that's an understatement. I probably called most of you at some point for help. I don't think that's scalable for you guys personally, and I don't think that's scalable for the city as it's grown over the time period that I've been here. I think Pearland Innovation Hub is filling that gap. I think it wasn't, to be honest, I didn't think it was a role for the city to do originally, and I think I spoke to a couple of you about that. Since then, I've seen it grown under the leadership of these guys, and I see it every day. I get to work with them next door all the time, and I see small businesses, and these guys are the testimony to that, right? I mean, they're constantly getting the help that they need, and for free. And maybe that's the on-ramp that we need for the city, so that they can go into the chamber, so that they can then become city council members one day like you guys. So I think this is a good thing. I think it's a great thing for the city to support local businesses and have an outlet where they can get, financial needs met, or, how to read a P&L statement or a balance sheet. Some of these things sound kind of trivial to us after being 20 years in business, but they're just starting. They're on day one. And so I would ask you to think back to when you started your business and how much that was a challenge for you to get that kind of help and assistance. And that's exactly what the Innovation Hub is doing today.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to try this. Amelia Sofa? She left?
See,
I understand.
I told you, Amelia.
Just stick with Amelia. It would have been better. All right. Brittany Lanier? She left. And Mr. Mayor, that is everybody that signed up to speak.
So we'll go into a staff report real quick.
Thank you, Mayor. This item authorizes the contract we've heard a little bit about through the comments to continue our relationship with the Pearland Chamber of Commerce to operate the Pearland Innovation Hub for small business assistance in Pearland. And it is funded by the Pearland Economic Development Corporation. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Matt Buchanan, President of the PEDC, as well as Jim Johnson, Pearland Chamber President and CEO, for a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Epperson. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. And so as Trent mentioned, we have a 3-year expenditure here tonight for about $888,000, or about $296,000 per year. This is, as you'll remember, is one of our key initiatives of our strategic plan. And in your packet, we kind of have the whole background of why we started this initiative and the many efforts in the community that went into it, and many that Mr. Graham just spoke about. And so as you'll see here, centralized home for connections to local and regional resources, technical assistance, and then that networking function. And just as a reminder, obviously, I think for many years we heard that we did not do enough in the economic development realm for small businesses, and so all holistic economic development efforts are attraction, retention, but then that formation and early stage growth, and that's where this effort really comes in, is in that entrepreneurship small business role. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim Johnson, our President and CEO of the Pearland Chamber of Commerce. As you'll remember, about a year ago, they took over the management of the chamber, and I think they've done a tremendous job. And Jim's going to go through some of the highlights.
Thank you, Matt. Jim Johnson with the Pearland Chamber of Commerce, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Innovation Hub. Great group of people that came up here and told you about the successes right now, but I just want to walk you through an overview of what's taken place. And when we start off with who is the Pearland Innovation Hub, it's the home of small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs. You just heard from multiple people that it's not just small business, it's not just startups, it's a wide range in creating that ecosystem. We currently represent 314 members, which 294 are business owners. I'm always asked, what's the difference? Somebody could be a vice president of strategic partners with Alvin Community College. They would show up as a member, but not one of our business owners on that end as well. Yep, there we go. I want to take a moment. The contract is with the chamber, so I'm here, but I want to recognize the day-to-day is overseen by our Innovation Hub staff. Sonia is here with us. Raise your hand, Sonia, if you haven't had the chance to meet our navigator. She's the one behind, I'd clap for her. She's the one behind the scenes navigating this ecosystem and being the day-to-day, as well as our part-time assistants, Carolina, who's here as well. Carolina, raise your hand as well. These wonderful ladies are behind the scenes and making this happen. But it's also overseen by an advisory board that is made up of professionals throughout the community. Many of these people are lending their expertise and providing that guidance and providing the strategic direction of this organization. But I do want to stress that these advisory board members are all approved by the Pearland Economic Development Corporation and lend their expertise to the organization. But what do we do? There are four main aspects of the Pearland Innovation Hub, and I'll spend more time on project-based technical assistance with local and national advisors and what that really means for our community and what we're doing to assist businesses so they can work on their business and not in it. We also want to talk about those networking, those programs that create the network of small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups, how we tie into the greater Houston ecosystem, because yes, we want Pearland to be the home for small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups, but there are resources out there in the Houston ecosystem that we do need to tap into. And all of this is done through a customized approach. As Ali mentioned, this is done through a wide range of conversations. So what is the crown jewel, the honey, the golden ticket of the Pearland Innovation Hub? And that is project-based technical assistance. Any qualified business, so they're in business, they live here in Pearland, get 10 free hours of project-based technical assistance. What does this really mean? This means we pair them with advisors throughout our area and around our community that help businesses succeed, drive, and continue to be a vital part of our community. You'll see that since we took over in June of last year and we launched our project-based technical assistance in September of last year, 288.5 hours have been completed, which is great. And you'll see, you might be shocked by this, Council. You'll see the top request of our business. That's that small minor graph in the bottom right is business strategy, marketing and sales, and finance. And we're helping businesses get through those areas and continue to go. And so we're doing this, and what do we see in the outcomes when we get through this? We've had 49 business outcomes that have taken place because of project-based technical assistance and or connecting them to the greater Houston ecosystem. And you're seeing companies create new jobs. You're seeing them help develop advertising plans. And so what's doing is they're taking it from the ability where they're spending their own dollars to keep their business open to be profitable and actually see growth in sales, or they're using the knowledge to create websites and drive traffic to be more efficient in what they do. We are helping businesses solve real problems, and they do that through the back-end platform. And this is what sets us apart. It allows people to log in. They get to have access to these advisors. They get to see grants. So if they're seeking funding, and an ongoing learning library, because businesses are busy and they need to get that training, and let's have it available to them 24/7 across the board. We are also not, I don't want to say we're lollygagging. We're getting these people connected quickly in what we do. And we do that through a wide range of events that are rotating throughout the month. Morning Brew Connections. It's not just coffee. Let's start talking about problems. Business breakthrough conversations. This is real mastermind area, as you heard from our people saying, well, we'll help them work on areas to be better in business. Funding strategies. Let's tell them how to get traditional lending through some great local banks or non-traditional lending, because they do need grant funding and money on that end. And lastly, entrepreneur insights. It's been so great to hear people like David Graham or Ed Thompson talk about the challenge. Rick Fernandez, you were at one of them, Councilmember, where you talk about those successes and areas. But most recently, 2 weeks ago, we had a pitch competition, and that was great. Congrats again to our grand prize winner. I mean, you heard her speak. You should have seen that 3-minute pitch. But we gave out 3 grand prizes, helped them get funding. But beyond that, they're going to get access to great advising and technical assistance. We just don't want to give them a check and say, hey, you had a great idea. But they're going to get access to ongoing training so they can be successful, and you can see a great crowd. On the horizon, Youth Shark Tank coming up, this thing where we're going to work with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to make sure that the next generation of entrepreneurs is working on this end. And lastly, the Houston ecosystem. These are all the people that we're partnering with throughout the area. Because again, this is beyond Pearland. But when you have a navigator and a coordinator that know this ecosystem, and sometimes the solution is project-based technical advising, but sometimes it is Ali and what they can do at the SBDC. It might be our colleges. It's making sure they are navigated to the appropriate place. And this all matters. You heard from people, but look at these testimonials that you have from Kalen Covington. Not only did we help him build our website, and that's that project-based technical side. It wasn't, Caleb, you need a website. We built it on the back end for him. We helped him get historically underutilized business so he can go after government contracts and gain access to those contracts. So this is working, and we're excited to tell you about the progress that since we took over in June and then launched these programs throughout the year. And I'll turn it back over to Matt for additional information.
So Mayor and Council, in your packet, you'll see the budget. This is just an example of what FY26 is. The majority of money, 133, is salaries for about $282,000 a year, and it's the same mostly through FY27 and then 28. And this covers the management and operations of the hub, all the activities, the event management, the ecosystem, the branding, the marketing, and all the outreach. So happy to answer any questions you have tonight.
All right, sounds good. I'll throw it open for questions and comments. Mr. Patel?
Mayor, Jim, first of all, let me tell you, thank you today. Certainly an eye-opener from where we were last year. I will tell you, I was not a believer of what you could do, and I'll be the first one to say congratulations, and I'm sorry. I'll probably echo what David said. I was probably skeptical off this idea just because what had happened previously. And kudos to you and your team for really turning it around. And I know you've invited me several times, and I'll promise you I'll be there next time.
Thank you, Councilmember Patel, and I appreciate the trust of council. We deal with businesses every day. This is our wheelhouse, and the trust that the EDC and the council put up with us a year ago. I always promised you we'd come back and tell you, hey, is it working in our community or it's not? And it's clear that it is working, and this is the lane that we need to be to as a community.
Ms. Cade?
I was also did not see value in the Innovation Hub in the past, and I have completely come around, and you know that, Ms. Sonia, you know that as well. And I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much. Marilyn, congratulations to y'all. And thank you for what you're doing.
Ms. Chavarin?
Thank you, Mayor. So I did see value. I just want to let you all know because I've been very involved and I've seen the progress. So congratulations. I think this is a great program. We are having an economic impact on our community. We're creating jobs. We're paying taxes. There's the sale tax base. There's property tax. I also want to give a shout out to Sonia and her team. I mean, y'all do an amazing job. And also to pitch competition. I was able to attend. It was a great event, and congratulations. I look forward to following your journey. You are amazing. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavarin, thank you so much for those remarks, and thank you for all your leadership through this. I will say that what's great about the pitch comp, we heard about Yellow Apron Bakery. We had a midwife be our second place winner, and then a technology company that's going to help people that are going through student loans navigate that and help them build all those in one area. So you had healthcare, which I heard earlier somebody say we're a healthcare center, technology, and then a great hospitality bakery coming in. So what a great wide range of people that are being impacted just through that one event. And those are the three winners, not the 10 people that got up there and pitched, not the 15 plus people that applied. So thank you for those remarks, Councilmember Chavaria.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Cozen?
Thank you, Mayor. Jim, just want to tell you I believed.
Thank you. I believe.
I felt that you were the right person.
Thank you.
At the beginning, I looked at it as a bridge loan to get it going. So not only from the small businesses, you took it and put this team together to get it to what it is. So thank you very much. I'll be in support of it.
Thank you, Councilman. I do want to recognize our Vice President, Jennifer Birdie, who is helps oversee that program. And then we have board members. Yeah, I'll clap for them all. They all do a great job. But I also want to recognize our board members that are with us today. They're those front row people that have been here with you guys. They were excited to be our chair, Ms. Tina Levert, Chair-elect Beth Lewis. Oh, Brandon Dansby is not on the front row. I apologize. Brandon Dansby, Dr. O, Tara, and Shobi, all thank you so much for being here. And Ann Schuhal, who is not the current chair, but also serves on your advisory for the Innovation Hub. I want to thank all of them for spending their time with us this evening.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to say a couple things. Thank you all for sticking with us tonight. I know it's the last agenda item of the evening, but it's an important one. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Good job. Well done.
Thank you.
Mr. Fernandez.
I want to echo my colleagues up here to stand up here and to see Jim, Jennifer, all the members of the chamber, all the everyone at the EDC, the board. Clearly, the love of this city and is shown. I've had the honor of attending and participating in the Entrepreneur Insight. I have attended the Morning Brew Connections as well as I attended the pitch competition. I've had numerous people come up to me giving me testimony on the success that they've experienced through the Innovation Hub. So great job for such a short period of time, really. When you look at it, what was it, June of last year to now? Sonia, Carolina, you guys have done an excellent, excellent job. Jim, Jennifer, and of course the chamber as well. So thank y'all very much. Great presentation.
Thank you, Councilor. And I want to thank the EDC board. I see Mishi, I see Dean as well for their ongoing support, and the entire EDC staff, Melissa and Matt on the back. I know Brian's not with us today, but it's a collaborative effort that we really recognize the importance role all these businesses play in our community. I don't have any more commentary, I don't think. I'll just.
Mr. Carbone?
Yeah, everybody else said something. I will too. I supported you from the beginning. Good job, everybody. And
thank you, Council.
You got it wrong. We got 5 more agenda items to go, so it's not the last one.
Oh, we won't be staying, Councilmember Carbone, but we appreciate the opportunity.
We should have put you at the end. If we've got to be here, no.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I'll echo what everyone said. Starting a business, growing a business, and those types of things is different with every single person, with every single business. It's not easy. As we have always said, there are people who are phenomenal at their craft. They need to figure out how the business works. And where the Innovation Hub comes in, and I see it, is that part of it. It's how to make somebody who is excellent at what they do, now make them excellent in the business side of things, and then grow. And at the end of the day, scale up what they're able to do, where they're able to hire more people, where they're able to just explode and expand and those kind of things. And so I will say the Innovation Hub looked bleak. It did. Let's be honest. It looked very bleak where it was. I think many of us also knew putting it in the hands of the chamber was the best thing we could do, because you're can-do and will-do people, and that's what you've done. Now we've set the bar high. How do we keep going? And I think that's the fun part of this is we've set that challenge out there. We've set it. So now we get to go do even more. So it's going to be exciting over time to hear more and more testimonials, to hear more success stories, people who are working on their business, not in it, which is a testament to everybody who came and spoke, I think would say that very same scenario. So thank you again. With that, Madam Secretary, I'm going to call for the vote.
Member Koza,
I still believe aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Shavadiya,
Aye.
Member Cade,
Aye.
Member Fernandez,
Aye.
Member Patel,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Very good, guys. With that, we'll move to number 8. Mr. Carbone, would you present that, please?
Consideration possible action resolution R 2025-70. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. This is an item that is that would allow the annexation of some additional acreage into the boundaries of MUD 69. This is the Ordino 2 tract that's out in the Massey Oaks area. Pulte Homes has this under contract. They are looking to, y'all council recently rezoned the property for development, and I believe at that time for 628 lots. This will then now pave the way for it to be included in the MUD for reimbursements for developers as they develop. And I do have a representative, Matthew Reed. He's with Swartz, Page, and Harding. He's here to answer any questions if the council has any as a representative of the MUD. I know he would personally like to thank you for the billable hours this evening that he's, and so anyways, I'll go ahead and leave it at that. Thank you.
It's on the MUD, not us. All right.
I tried to get us out of here.
Yeah, I tried to. Throw it open for questions and comments. I do know this was talked about when the zoning of the property came up, and we knew it was a matter of time before the request would come in. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Shawadia?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Sounds good. Hopefully the rest of these will be that quick. Item number 9, Ms. Chavarria, would you place that on the table, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Consideration possible action resolution number R 2025-39. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item accepts the petition to create a public improvement district and sets the public hearing regarding the creation of that public improvement district, or PID. The purpose of it is to extend wastewater service to an approximate 80-acre area, generally located east of Smith Ranch Road and south of Hughes Road, area we do not have wastewater service. So this is the first step in creating the PID. The petition was signed by owners of 65% of the land and 62% of the value, which exceeds the minimum statutory requirement of 50%. The improvements themselves are estimated at $6.1 million, and so those will be fronted with PDC, and then the PID will reimburse them as those properties develop. This will be, so after tonight, if we accept this and set the public hearing, we'll follow up with the public hearing on the June 23rd meeting, and then through the process of actually creating the PID. Thank you, Mayor.
Sounds good. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Member Shawadia?
Aye.
Member Cade?
Aye.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Mr. Byram, would you place number 10 on the table, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, consideration and possible action. First reading of ordinance number 1587-1. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an update to Chapter 9, the traffic portion of our Code of Ordinances. And some of the changes in here are prompted by an increase in auto and non-pedestrian sidewalk users that entering intersections uncontrolled. Also some updates to the sections providing administrative authority to place temporary traffic control signs and other minor changes. And we recommend approval of the changes.
All right. Any questions, comments? Carbone?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I skimmed through here, and I guess specific to golf carts, are they allowed on sidewalks? Not?
So we'll have Assistant Chief Dunham help us out here.
So golf carts are a very unique topic and covered under a lot of different things, but they are not specifically covered in this ordinance as far as being allowed on sidewalks.
So will I get pulled over if I'm on a golf cart on a sidewalk?
So golf carts, it depends on where they are operating. So I can't specifically say no in no circumstances. But I don't know if Katie, you want to expand on this a little bit more, because I know you've.
Golf carts are extensively regulated in the Texas Transportation Code, and as such, it is not consistent or clear regulation. So it is a very context and fact-specific enforcement question with golf carts. Who can drive them, where they can drive them, how fast they can drive them. All of these are dependent on the specific roadway and sometimes proximity to a golf course and other issues that can impact whether or not enforcement is permissible under state law. And from my perspective, it is better to leave golf cart regulation in state law and not try and further regulate it.
All right, makes sense. I'll pull the video up if I get in trouble.
Ms. Cade.
So the section 29.7, use of roller skates, skateboards, toys, and similar devices is restricted. Where is Katie? I can't find her.
Behind Victor.
Oh, sorry. It says it's a revision to the existing ordinance. What was it? How did this change?
We are essentially updating to include devices that did not exist or were not widely used when this ordinance was last updated in 2019. In the past 6 years, there have been a variety of one-wheeled, two-wheeled, three-wheeled, hoverboard, scooter, e-bike type vehicles, and as more and more people use those, they're using them on streets and on sidewalks, and they're not clearly regulated in the transportation code. So we're trying to fill in the gaps in the transportation code by expanding the types of devices, toys, whatever you want to call them, in this section.
Toys is what was added?
We added the motorized or non-motorized hoverboard. We added coasters and the other similar device with any number of wheels to try and cover future developments in this area that we don't know about yet.
Okay.
Essentially known as toys. There you go.
Well, yes, but sometimes used by adults and children, and so
We can have our toys too.
See you.
Yeah.
They have to come to a complete
I want to see
stop
me on
before
one too.
crossing
Stay up.
basically we're trying to minimize collisions between people on scooters and people in cars who don't see someone, because the scooters can go so fast now, drivers don't always see them coming until they're colliding.
Yes, I see them at Independence Park all the time. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you for explaining.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram.
Aye.
Member Koza.
Aye.
Member Carbone.
Aye.
Member Chavadia.
Aye.
Member Cade.
Aye.
Member Fernandez.
Aye.
Member Patel.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, with that, we'll move to number 11. Ms. Cade, would you place that on the agenda, please, or on the table, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2025-73, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for approval of our wind, hail, and driven rain insurance, the renewal of that. McGriff is our consultant that goes out to the global insurance market carriers to find the best results for us. The results here are while we added the surface water plant to our insured properties, which added our overall value of insured properties, resulting in a total premium just shy of about $1.53 million, which is actually an $80,000 reduction in premiums from last year, which translates into a 9.9% reduction in the actual insurance rate based on the value that we insure. So great results, after we saw a large increase last year, so we're recommending approval.
What else can we, no, I'm sorry. With that, we'll turn it over to questions, comments, concerns from council. Patel?
Thank you. Trent, on Friday's call, there was a question regarding, I think, Councilmember Byram and I were having a discussion regarding the limits besides the 50 million. Did we get an answer for that? Remember the additional coverage, and then was it part of the $50 million coverage, or was it above that 50 million? Do we know?
So Brittany, can you help us out with exactly what our coverages are per facility and per occurrence?
Yes, so that 50 million, that's going to be overall per occurrence. So per, whether it's a named event or tornadoes or, a hailstorm, anything like that, that's going to be the 50 million cap. Now, I know that that's not going to cover all of our property because we have $212 million worth of property, but this is more so to cover a worst case kind of event. We do have an opportunity because we still have roughly 7 days before we seal the deal, so to speak, with McGriff. So if that 50 million was really a concern, that is something I could go back to. But it looks like we had that per occurrence limit up to 75 back in 22. And from 22 to 23, and I know some of this kind of precedes when I took the reins as the risk manager, but what I've gathered from it is we were trying to desperately get that premium down. So increasing that overall per occurrence limit, obviously it will jump that premium up. It's unlikely that we will have total property damage of everything. So depending on what happens, or rather what facility is damaged, we can be under that 50 million. We can, maybe if it's a PSB and the rec center collectively, we can go above that 50. But ideally, we've kind of held that 50 for the past couple of years.
And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you pull up that policy, I guess we were having a discussion.
It's page
regarding
17 in the packet.
Which one?
Page 17.
Page 17, if you can pull that up. It was just to get clarification. So I understand that 50 is the top end, but let's say it had debris coverage and debris removal, or whatever you call right there. Yep. Thank you so much. So it says account receivable, 250,000, demolition, 5 million. Is that on top of that 50, or is that including in that 50? That was the question. Does that make sense?
Oh, I see what you mean. And I believe that's actually included in that, but I would actually like to get clarification, if I may, from McGriff, and I can give that information. I do want to clarify that for you.
That was the question.
Okay.
And I guess just from my understanding, we also had a discussion. Look, no one had thought about a tornado hitting down in Alvin, right? And the school got completely destroyed. If that's the case, I'm just curious, what would be our, I guess, exposure? 50 million is not going to cover it. Do we go sell bonds at that point to rebuild, or is there a federal program that pays for something like that? Again, just for my knowledge.
So with something like, I don't know, a tornado, like you said, coming through here, we still have, if you look down with the per locations, per occurrence, we do have that $100,000 per deductible, and that's for the non-named event, something like the tornado. And this is just a deductible overall. So if a tornado comes through for whatever reason and hits 5 different facilities, it doesn't matter the amount. If we've incurred $100,000 total, we're going to be able to actually file a claim with our insurance with this.
Yeah, and I guess the question was, what happens if a tornado hits the water facility, or the new Barry Rose, it's $250 million. I mean, what happened? It was just, again, no one thought a school would get knocked out, right? I mean, so it could happen. Chances are very slim. So it's just for my own curiosity, what's the city's plan to say, hey, we're going to have to sell bonds, or there's federal programs that will just pay for this, right? Because this is completely something out of normal.
Well, no, that's a good question. So I would definitely love to go back and kind of get a little bit more information for you for that.
So I think if we have a name storm and there's a federal disaster declaration, there would be funds there that we could pursue through FEMA and TDEM.
Ms. Cade.
It's McGriff is bids for us.
Yeah, they're a broker.
They're the broker, but do they have to do a certain number of bids, if you will?
I think in the details they go out to the market and they contacted around 50 different insurers as they went through the process. Yeah.
Okay.
Submissions were provided to over 50 domestic and international insurance carriers.
What page is that on?
It's on the second page of the AIR under the bid award process.
All right, Mr. Byron.
Since we're going back and looking at it to get some additional answers, I would be curious, and I know this goes a little bit back before your time, right? But we've had some pretty significant storms that have hit our area in the last 5 to 10 years. I'd be curious to see if we ever hit anywhere close to 50 million. I don't think we ever have.
No, we've never been anywhere close to that. Probably the biggest thing we had was when the roof came off of this building in Ike and would completely soaked everything inside of it and flooded it. And I think that was, to put that back together this was many, many years ago, obviously with Ike, but it was, I think it was probably under 10 million, maybe under about 5, 6, 7.
Six rings a bell.
Yeah.
But the building next door was severely.
It was
I think
damaged severely
probably
as
everything
well.
for the complex.
Everything. And that would have included putting new roofs on the building as well as basically a full redo inside of everything that was wet.
This building was gutted because it rained.
In the building.
It ripped the roof completely off. It peeled it back like a sardine can, and it literally rained inside the building. We had 6 or 8 inches of water
right here.
So I guess this question's for council. You mentioned that previously we carried a $75 million policy. We've gone down to a $50 million policy. Would council be interested in seeing the difference in the premium, or do we think 50 million is enough?
I mean, if you look back at what's on slide, I mean, we had full coverage, it looks like, right? And I'll tell you, you're not going to get anything cheaper. I mean, I'm surprised it went down 9%. If I was you, I would say lock it in, really. Don't think twice. I mean, it's a good company too, it's a Berkshire Hathaway, so.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the likelihood. I mean, it would have to be a massive hurricane coming across, but we're 50 miles inland, so those sustained winds, or if it's a tornado, it would have to hop like this all over town to hit everything, you know, and generally speaking. So we are, it's measured risk. That's the way I term it. It's measured. We're measuring it out, and you know, maybe over time, if we see any change in insurance rates over any length of time, we can start maybe increasing our insured, you know, risk. So, any other questions, comments?
Yep.
Seeing, oh, yep.
There's been a couple questions from McGriff. Is McGriff here?
No, they aren't. They are not.
We pay them for a service, right?
I thought we did.
And we have a contract with McGriff?
It's just, yes, a 1-year contract.
Okay, well, whenever it comes up for renewal, I'll ask the question, why weren't they here tonight?
They need to be. They do several of our insurance policies, including health and all that, right?
Yes, and our flood insurance as well.
Flood insurance.
Some of the.
So we'll have health renewals coming up, so they need to be in the.
We work with Hub for health
We work
insurance.
with Hub. We don't work with McGriff for health.
Oh, okay. I thought they carried, not carried, but it was a broker on the other. All right, opportunity, last call. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Member Cade?
Yes.
Member Fernandez?
Aye.
Member Patel?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram?
Aye.
Member Koza?
Aye.
Member Carbone?
No.
Member Shabadilla?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1.
Mr. Fernandez, if you'll place number 12 on the agenda, or on the table, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, first reading of ordinance number 1643-2. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is first reading budget amendment number 2. This establishes our projections on revenue and expenditures through the end of this fiscal year 25, and then sets the starting point for our FY26 budget. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to our head of OMB, Rachel Winslow, to walk us through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epperson. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time this evening. I will try to be brief. So we're going to talk about a few of our funds tonight, starting with general fund, our debt service fund, enterprise fund, some fund changes to our special revenue funds, and then our future budget dates. So for general fund, we're going to start with revenue changes. Here we're showing revenue changes where categories of expenditures increased by more than $100,000. The biggest category that increased was our miscellaneous revenue, increasing by 1.2 million. This is related to a one-time payment from MUD 16 of 1.1 million. So we'll receive that in the revenue of general fund, and there's an additional portion in our debt service fund. Of that 1.1 million we received, we budgeted $650,000 in capital outlay for the rebuilding of fences and an additional capital project. The only revenue decreases in the general fund that are projected for FY 2025, include our investment earnings, and that's just based off of year to date and how the market is performing. Our general fund expenditure changes. The primary changes here include our transfers out account. As we recognize some additional revenue for FY 25, we were able to resolve a lot of the funding pressures identified in the early budget input session. So with this increase to the transfers out, we are resolving the coronavirus relief fund deficit. That's a total of $1.4 million. We're also increasing our contribution to the capital holding fund for IT and facilities, increasing each contribution from $250,000 to $500,000 for the year. So those funds will now maintain a balance going forward. Additionally, we're making some other fund balance that had negative values positive, so that we have resolved all those issues going into FY 26, which leaves us in a really strong position. For capital outlay, that increase is primarily recognizing that expense for MUD 16, the $650,000. And then we're recognizing and categorizing correctly some expenses by the departments. So those were already existing budgeted items that moved out of other line item accounts. We did see decreases throughout this process from our departments as they reviewed their operational budgets, and we appreciate that very much. So with our general fund income statement here, we see that our projected revenue for FY 25 is $127.4 million, with our projected expenditures at $129.5. We meet our fund balance policy minimum at 93 days, and we are $1 million over that policy minimum. As these projections are just our best estimates, we feel comfortable with the fund balance reserve going into the next fiscal year. Our primary intention for that in fiscal year 26 is to add an additional $500,000 to the infrastructure reinvestment fund. So for our debt service fund, we also do see miscellaneous revenue increasing here. This is that other portion of the MUD payment, as well as an increased DAP reimbursement that was larger than originally budgeted. That DAP reimbursement is being used to defease debt. Our expenditure increase includes the defeasance, as well as some arbitrage fees for FY 25. And our debt service income statement reflects that we are going to end over policy minimum with $2.5 million. And as stated, that will be used to help manage the debt rate in FY 26. For our enterprise fund, we saw a number of revenue increases here and one revenue decrease. That's mostly related to our wet winter months and will be continued to be monitored. Our expenditure increases here mostly relate to the Reflection Bay. The department was able to cover those immediate repairs with their operating budget until now. So we are simply returning the budget to the funds that they borrowed from. And we'd like to give the department credit because Reflection Bay costs $3.5 million, and they're not adding that entirely back to their budget, so they were also able to recognize some savings this year. Expenditure decreases include transfers out and salaries and wages due to vacancy savings. And if we review their enterprise fund income statement, they're finishing $7.9 million over policy based off of the estimated year-end projections. Again, these are only projections based off of how we're trending so far year to date. So we'll take those into the next year and continue to monitor those through FY 26. Outside of those funds, we have special revenue funds, which our departments are using to make one-time utilizations for things that will help because they do not have to be purchased out of the general fund or other operating funds. In our citywide donation fund, our fire team is purchasing $69,000 in training equipment. In our federal and state seizure fund, there will be $250,000 for surveillance tower and trailer, and the tree trust fund is budgeting $700,000 for land acquisition. Our future dates, we'll be back here on June 9th for the second reading of Budget Amendment 2. June 23rd will be our comprehensive CIP workshop, and July 14th will begin discussion of the fiscal year 26 budget.
So I think we'll open it up to questions
All right.
at this point.
Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Very comprehensive, Rachel, as always. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say I liked how many times you said we found savings, that came in under budget, we found savings. So good job, staff. I appreciate that.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, this is an ordinance, so it'll be two readings, first of two readings. Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Member Fernandez,
Aye.
Member Patel,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Byram,
Aye.
Member Koza,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Shavadilla,
Aye.
Member Cade.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, other business, there were none. Mayor, council issues for city council discussion, there were none. Just want to look around the room. The staff is left in the room. People have all gone home. I want to thank everybody for indulging us through the public hearing tonight. Many times when we have a public hearing like that, we may not have as many people come out, but even if we do, we get accused often of not listening or not taking it seriously or not taking this under consideration or that under consideration. And I think it was important for us to walk that neighborhood through that issue, right, wrong, or indifferent, how it ended, and those types of things. That was neighbor, and they were struggling with all of this. So I just want to thank y'all for the indulgence of council going through that tonight. With that, we'll move to adjournment at 10:13.
We got a gable roof instead of a hip roof, and we got more brick and more stucco. Great, right? That I'm not concerned with what this is going to look. I'm sure our architectural committees in the city of Pearland are going to do well and make sure this is going to look good for generations to come. My concern is the functionality of it. How is this going to work? How is traffic going to work? How is traffic going to come in and out? How are emergency vehicles